4v3.
Everfrog Esports trying to find what angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a roll. We're gonna deflect. D-White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
Beast Mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. Santi's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga4 is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3. Melophobia starting the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy, popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace.
It is a good evening for some Overwatch and an even better evening for Saturday Night Overwatch. Hello everyone and welcome as we stick our toes into the winners round 1 bracket for the EU GM PC tier. My name is Sam Tonks. Joining me on the desk is 2Tryhard Ray and Jeff. We got a bit of a skeleton crew going on here, but nevertheless excited to bring you all the Ray, the playoffs action that we have going on.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Not sure if those folks, a lot of our folks are in Stockholm right now. If they're watching, shout outs to them, man. I hope they're having a great time. And we'll hold it down for you guys while you guys are out there. But very excited to kick off some playoffs for SNO edition. It's been some crazy games so far, and I expect nothing less than what we're going to be seeing on both NA and EU today.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, Jeff, you know, we're reaching those exciting moments where the pressure is starting to mount, right? Players have gotten all of their, you know, sort of that energy pushed up to the forefront to be able to take things and take, you know, your winners round in the playoffs.
I mean, this is the time to put it all out there. This is the time to leave everything on the battlefield. This is where it doesn't really matter how you got here. All that matters is how you perform in this match in front of you and every match going forward. And that's how you win a championship. And that's what makes playoffs so exciting. I mean, it's a clean slate going in, and it's my favorite time of the season.
Oh, I think it's all of our favorite time of the season, being able to see the culmination of so much time, so much effort being distilled down into these moments. So I want to go ahead and take a look at the schedule for tonight, because obviously we have the EU side of things, we have the NA side of things, but we also have some games in the middle, right? Starting us off, we have Team.exe versus EMC Helheim for our tonight's Saturday Night Overwatch matchup. But on the NA side of things, starting at 1700 Eastern Time, we have RRGJV, funnily enough, going up against RRG Varsity. So that's going to be an interesting matchup, to say the least. Then for the Saturday Night Overwatch on NA side of things, in TMR Rotation versus YFP Gaming. And to round things off, Oops All Vibes BGSU Falcons. The 2 games for RRG and the final game that are happening tonight is going to be happening on CGL _2, so it's going to be happening on a different channel, not at the same time as Saturday Night Overwatch. So it's a whole day full of Overwatch happening on different channels, but all Overwatch all the time. I mean, right, it doesn't get much better than that, right, buddy?
A full day, full slate of Overwatch playoff action to watch all day. I mean, you can earn those CGL tokens, be able to redeem those logo making opportunities for your teams. It's just all around great stuff. And I mean, those are all great games. I mean, we were told beforehand that the RRJV is actually the higher seed and chose to go against their varsity team. Like that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Bullskunk, that's kind of like looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, come on, bro.
I mean, I was originally thinking like, man, that's kind of mean of the varsity team to, try to go pick on their JV squad. No, it's the other way around. It's the JV squad who are the stronger of their team and who are fighting for starting spots and, maybe a little bit of in-house rivalry there. That should definitely be a spicy one. This could be a good one. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, not only that though, but we also have NTMR Rotation versus YFP Gaming. I mean, those are big names, Ray.
I mean, those are names I think of when I'm thinking of, what Bullskunk does. He does Face It League, and a lot of those teams are very talented. Those are two of the best we've seen. So that's going to be a killer game tonight. I can't wait to see that one on SNO.
Oh, I can't.
It's an amazing matchup. If you're not familiar with Nightmare Rotation, this is a one-trick team. So this is a team led by Dirt, who's a notorious hog player full of personality. If you've never seen a Dirt stream, go check out a Dirt stream. Go give Dirt OW a follow. And that's kind of the personification of the Nightmare Rotation squad. The whole Rotation squad has that, lots of personality, loves a lot of one tricks. It's gonna be a fun matchup. They're also the #1 team coming out of Expert Division for Face It League. YFP are a master team in Face It League, so it'll be a fun matchup. It'll be a really good matchup.
I'm excited for all of those matchups coming up ahead of us, but I'm also excited for tonight's matchup between Team.exe versus EMC Helheim. So there is a big expectations for both of these teams going into winners round 1, because not only is this the playoffs bracket, but this is a rematch from all the way back in the early days of this season, from week 4 of Saturday Night Overwatch. And Jeff, that makes things that much more, I guess, not decisive, but revenge worthy, right? Especially for EMC Helheim, who got 3-1 by Team.exe.
It does seem to add a little extra something into this mix, that little extra X factor into the baking mix as we put this one into the oven, because there's a chip on the shoulder of EMC here. And not only that, with being able to play the team before, you might have a little expectation of who to watch out for, who they need to shut down, a little bit of their style. If they can find that revenge is another story.
Indeed so. Let's take a look at the bracket, get an idea of how things have been going so far in the playoffs, which not too much, right? Special Forces, unsurprisingly, 3-0 against the God Stack, and so I get to chill out, wait and see who's going to be winning this matchup between Team EXE versus EMC Helheim. Ray, but I mean, looking at what we have so far in the winners bracket, the God Stack waiting for whoever's going to lose here in the losers bracket down below, and the God Stack waiting for the winner between these two.
I think this is going to be the closest highly contested series we'll probably have in this bracket. I think what we've seen is Special Forces has definitely been the odds-on favorite in general to win the whole thing. So I think they are primed to be very good, but EMC Helheim, Team EXE, like we said, the previous matchup was a 3-1. We're in a completely, this was like 7 weeks ago, so we were in a completely different meta back then. So a lot of changes have come through, and we did some interviews beforehand, so we'll get an idea of what these teams are thinking. But I'm excited to see this matchup. I think it could be very close.
Yeah, 7 weeks ago in Overwatch time, that's a whole generation, it feels like, right? Because Juno wasn't in the game yet. A lot of different metas that were formed during that time that have obviously shifted around going into.
I think we've been through like 4 metas in 7 weeks. It's ridiculous how much things have changed over the past 7 weeks. I think technically it was 3. I think we may have been in Juno at that point. I'm not entirely sure if we were. It was the intro phases where we were seeing the Diva Juno. Then we get into an Orisa meta. Then we had the changes coming through and things got all shook, and we were starting to see Junker Queen and even Ramatra kind of peppered in. Now we're into a Maga meta. Like, things have shifted so much in 7 weeks. It's a whole new world.
The landscape is always in this flux state where you never really know what's going to happen week after week. And in my opinion, that's one of the things that makes Overwatch a lot of fun to experience and to be a spectator of, is because you never know what's going to be happening the week to week. Obviously not as fun for the players themselves having to adapt to all of these different metas, but for us, the viewers, it is an exciting time. And also, we have so much more exciting times because, well, Ray, you've got something prepped, loaded, and ready to go for us for this week's game. So, would you take it away and tell us what you are going to be putting us through?
All right, so this is my classic game that we normally do. It is called Fit Check. So we got names of different cosmetics in Overwatch, and you guys are going to have to guess which character these belong to. And one thing, we didn't have the ad this week, I believe, for CGL Lowlights, but this recent episode, they took shots at the staff. So if you, I mean, it's always fun when, you know, we get to go after the players, but it's only fair that the staff gets some shots. We had some staff pugs, and that was the most recent episode of Lowlight. So make sure to go check that out. It's a pretty good episode, and you'll see a lot of us getting, I mean, I get flamed in it, so it's pretty fun. So we'll go ahead and start with Fit Check. As I mentioned, we'll do the names of skins, and we will figure out which of these characters are. We'll see which one of you two is better at figuring these cosmetics out.
Uh-oh.
I'm nervous.
Uh-oh.
Our first one, we have, I think this should be a freebie. We'll see, but cardboard.
Reinhardt.
Yeah, it's Reinhardt, right? It has to be Reinhardt.
It is Reinhardt.
Yeah, okay.
Let's go. Let's go.
I had to go back in my brain for a second there to remember that.
He's not the only one with a cardboard skin, but that's okay.
All right. Number 2, we have, hold on, pulling it up. Sorry. We have Mime.
Mime.
I'll let you go first on this one, Sam.
I can type it
Is
out
that,
if I need to.
is that Junkrat?
Is that your guess?
Yes.
All right, Jeff.
Mime. Ooh, I want to say like Sombra.
Oh, that's good.
It is,
Reinhardt.
no, it's Moira.
Moira! Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, I forgot
That's
about
right.
that. Oh man.
I could see it. Yep.
Yeah,
All right,
I was
all right.
thinking of the Junkrat Jester skin, I think is what it was.
Yeah, I think you were thinking of Jester
Yeah.
as well. Alrighty. Number 3, we have Kendoka. I will let
What?
Jeff go first on this one.
Hanzo.
Sam?
I'm gonna go Kiriko.
I will say this. Neither of you got it right. Jeff was close. Jeff was very, very close.
Genji?
Because it was
Moira.
Genji.
Yeah. I,
Oh, you know, I wanted to say
I could
Genji,
see it in
too.
my face. I could see it in my head, and I was like, yep. I should have known that. It's the
that's
wooden
close.
swords. It's the practice. That's what Hindoken is. I should have known that.
All right. Next round, we have Prophet. And it's Prophet. Prophet. Sam, you can go first on this one.
Zenyatta?
Jeff?
Prophet? That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
I think this one was probably the hardest one.
I'm trying to see if I can visualize it. Visualize it.
Put it in your head.
See it in your third eye. I see Sigma.
Oh, that's a good one.
Congratulations, Jeff. You got it.
Oh, that's so good.
Just gotta hone in with that big blue
Yeah.
eye on my forehead.
Dude, when I saw you like sitting there visualizing Jeff, I'm like, I think he might get this one.
I got scared when Jeff was like reaching into the third eye.
You know, it's a scary win.
All right. Next, we have Invisible Man.
Oh, Cassidy.
Sam?
Cassidy. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that is correct. I wanted to put another one that you guys were guaranteed to get
That one's pretty
for the
iconic.
audience so they could see it.
Yeah.
Cassidy.
I use that. That's my go-to Cassidy.
That's actually the
skin.
skin I always use on Cassidy
Yeah.
as well.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
It's a very good one. I love that skin a lot.
All right, final opportunity.
Oh boy.
Final one. I think you guys will get this one. We have Botanist. Give it to Jeff first.
May.
Sam?
Yeah, it's May.
I'm actually not 100 on that.
Answer is Anna. I
It's
messed it up a
Anna.
little bit.
Yes.
Anna.
It's one of the newer ones too.
I was thinking.
I think I've maybe been thinking of the either Beekeeper or one of those
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
No, she does have a flower one too.
She
right?
does have a flowery one. Yeah, that's kind of the skin I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
That's.
Hey, we still did pretty good.
Yeah, you guys did good. Jeff, you
I'll
ended
take
up
it.
getting the big victory, 3-2. That Sigma catch
It's the
was
third eye,
huge.
man. It's the third
That
eye.
Dude,
Sigma
yeah, that
big
Sigma was.
brain.
I couldn't believe that. I was like, it's profit. It was so vague, but Jeff was like, pulled it out at the final second.
Just had to dig deep.
Yeah. Ray, these games are always a lot of fun. I like Fit Check a lot, and that I think was a really good one this week. So good job, buddy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
one.
Good game.
So now that we got Fit Check done, and we have a deeper understanding of the hero skins that are out in the game, the amazing hero skins, by the way.
Oh,
We
the
have
art in
even-
this game is so good. It's worth highlighting.
Well, oh, and I think we can, we got a little bit of extra time, right? Because we finished Fit Check a little early. We can touch on the new hero coming out, Hazard. I think
Oh, yeah.
brilliant design. I know.
Have y'all played him yet?
No,
Oh, yeah.
not yet.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
I was playing him a lot yesterday.
Yeah, I was playing them a lot yesterday. Hey, if we're gonna be stuck here and not in Stockholm, you know what? At least we get to play some Hazard and do some Saturday Night Overwatch. All right, we get some good things here, being stuck, but that's all right. And Hazard, absolutely a highlight. That was I struggled to find dubs with the new hero, but a lot of fun to play.
So
I
He's
got
hard.
some good dubs with him, and I gotta say, like, this is not shots at Malga or anything, but like, I didn't find him, like, for me personally, like, I don't find him as fun to play. When I picked up Hazard, I was like, oh my gosh, this is fun. Like, I found myself like enjoying it a lot.
So why don't we take a quick rundown for people who may not know what Hazard is all about, what their kit is. Again, we have a little bit of extra time. We got a little bit of wiggle room. So let's get like a quick Cliff Notes version here from either one of you two.
I mean, first off, you have a wall climb on a tank. I think they tried to introduce a mobile tank. It's not quite as extended, as long of a wall climb as you do with like the Shimada clan, but still a significant wall climb. And then on top of that, you have a projectile that is a wall. So it's like a May wall, but you can put it on horizontal surfaces as well. And between the two, it makes for a very interesting, highly mobile character. And then the base just core cooldown is kind of it's like a cross between the Doomfist leap. Why is that escaping me all of a sudden? Why can't I? What's his Doomfist leap called?
Seismic Slam?
Seismic Slam. Thank you. Yes. It's like a cross between Seismic Slam and Punch. It's like somewhere in the middle. And so between that, you end up with this very kind of organically dynamic, creative character with a lot of high mobility. And it doesn't pardon the pun, doesn't quite have the punching power of Doomfist. Like, you gotta kind of finesse it a little bit more. But the high mobility and with the use of this wall makes for a very creative character. Makes for a very interesting, dynamic character.
Interesting.
And then he has the ability also to have basically a very similar like Doomfist like block where he puts up the arm, and it also simultaneously hits you with needles at the same time, like thorns come out of his back and start attacking you as you're blocking and resisting damage. And then his ultimate, I'm just gonna say, I think it's pretty broken. It goes through walls. I've seen it go through floors. I'm assuming they're still testing it and figuring out how they want it to be. But as it sits, it goes through walls, it goes through floors, and it's just a big, wide-ranging area in a straight line, and it will do 80 damage, and it chains you to the ground for 2 seconds.
Whoa.
Even if if Thera's in the sky, Sam, it'll bring her down to the ground.
Yeah,
and
it'll
chain
rip
her to the ground.
Junos and Faras out of the sky and just pin them
What
to
in
the ground.
the world? What in the world?
And it's interesting, this trend to the last two characters we've seen with Juno and now with Hazard. Their ultimates go through walls and floors. It's this interesting trend we're starting to see introduced, and it took a bit, I think, for the community to figure out just how powerful Juno's ult was to like be able to throw it through corners and kind of anticipate like in 3 seconds it's going to pop out of that wall across this corner, and that's where the team fight's going to be. I think Hazard's going to have a similar. It'll take a little time to figure out how to maximize that, but being able to throw your ultimate, I mean, just blindly through a wall into a corner where you know everybody's just bunkered down. I mean, just extraordinarily powerful. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch. We'll see how it plays out.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see how Hazard is going to shake things up in the game of Overwatch, if it's actually going to happen. But I'm also excited to see how also our current matchup is going to go between Team.exe and EMC Helheim, where we do, of course, have our pre-recorded interviews, which I believe, Ray, you were the interviewer? You're an interviewer, is the word I'm looking for.
I did interview them this week, so let's go ahead and take a look at those.
Starting with Team.exe.
What's going on, CGL fans? 2Tryhard Ray back at it again with another pre-desk, pre-match interview. This time we got the tank extraordinaire from Team.exe, Juno Fish. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you. What about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Well, it is round 1 of the playoffs. How do you guys feel? Do you guys feel like you got a good chance of winning it all? And then how do you feel coming into this matchup against EMC Helheim?
You know, I think coming off the back of the season we've had, the regular season, we've dropped, well, 1 game in the beginning and then won everything else through the bracket and whatnot. I think we're pretty confident in our chance of winning it all. This match, we think the slightly tougher opponent for this first match just to keep things interesting, but we still think we've got a pretty good handle on this team coming into it.
Do you feel like coming into this kind of new meta where Mao got buffed a little bit, Brig Juno has just been very strong, do you guys feel like you have a good grasp on this meta, or have you guys had to change anything up given, certain limitations?
Yeah, you'll notice it's slightly different to what we've been playing the whole season, so it's a bit of a change, but regardless, we still feel pretty alright on the comp. We've had some success trying it out. We'll just see how it goes in the match.
That sounds fantastic. And then, is there any particular player or situation, anything we should look out for in this matchup as we, come upon it tomorrow?
I believe we have Palos in. He's someone we've had in once or twice before. He's a good Genji player. Genji's pretty playable with this composition, so look out for the things he's going to be doing on Genji, hopefully. And then, yeah, just normal things, the rest of the team popping off.
Awesome. And before we go, I'm kind of asking everyone this just because I'm curious. Have you seen much on the new hero they introduced today?
Yeah, I watched the ability showcase. I messed about in practice range because the queue times are so long, but he looks interesting. Definitely have to try him out in a more competitive environment, but he looks, yeah, there should be interesting things about him.
Yeah, interesting. Just wanted to kind of get everyone's general opinions on it. But thank you so much for this pregame interview, and good luck in your guys' matchup.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys, that was our interview with Juno Fish. Back to the desk.
I think it's safe to say that they're feeling pretty confident about themselves. Jeff, I mean, going into it, they highlighted one of their players, Palace, talking about their Genji play. Which, touching on that real quick.
Before we get into that, I was spending the entire interview waiting for their camera to load. I was like, is it ever going to load? Why isn't this loading? Their logo is also having problems loading at the bottom of the screen right now. But Genji has been extraordinarily powerful over the past couple metas, and it continues to excel in this newest meta. If they do adopt into the Maga meta that we've seen emerging into a double flex support, double flex DPS kind of meta, then having a top tier Genji player at your side, I mean that could propel them all the way through to the grand finals. That's extremely important, and definitely we'll be keeping an eye out for Palos here today.
I don't know. I just had a vision in my mind of support Genji for like
You need healing. You need healing.
Oh man,
how the tables have turned.
The memes that could come out of that would be glorious. But we also have our next pre-recorded interview with EMC Helheim, of course, done by the great 2Tryhard Ray. So let's get it up.
What is going on, CGL fans? It is your boy 2Tryhard Ray with the behind the desk interview. We got Fifi, the Flex DPS phenom from EMC Helheim. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, thank you.
Yeah, so this week, first round of the playoffs. How are you guys feeling coming into the playoffs?
I'd say there's a little bit more confidence than there has been in the last few weeks. We've got we've had a little bit of a roster change going into playoffs too, so that has a little thing to do with that. But yeah, no, we're just a little more prepared now, I think.
How do you guys favor your chances? I mean, not only this week, but to win it all.
I don't think we're the favorites, but I don't think it's impossible. I think if we keep playing how we have been in scrims recently, I think we've got a good chance at it. I don't think there's any team that's like untouchable, you know?
Awesome. So hopefully the Scrim Bucks exchange is looking good for you guys. And then, you know, we had some patches drop recently. I mean, what have you guys thought about the changes? I'm assuming, you know, Malga's pretty good, but how have you guys read the meta so far?
Well, unfortunately, we've had a bit of we've had some issues with the Juno Brig recently. We can't seem to stick it, so we may still try it, but the plan is to try something different, play our own game mainly, and then yeah, if we need to switch, we'll switch. But as for Malga, not an issue.
Not gonna lie, given how it went for EU this morning in OWCS, I think playing to your own game can definitely benefit you guys in a great way. You know, just for fun, you know, before we, you know, end things off here, I don't know, have you seen much of the new hero that they showed today?
Yeah, I've played a few games.
Oh, what are your thoughts so far?
I don't think he's like annoying or anything. I don't think it's like a massive issue. I'd even argue he's a bit weak, really. But then again, it's like it's only quick play. You're not playing against like people who are trying too hard. But I think he's fairly well designed compared to some of the recent heroes.
Yeah, I'd argue definitely, given people are still trying him out. I think if you played him at his best with around a team comp that works well, I think he could be pretty good. But yeah, just random matches in quick play could be pretty rough. But thank you so much for coming here for this interview, Fifi, and good luck in your guys' matchup.
Thank you.
And a big thank you to Fifi for that interview. Ray, I'm going to be honest, that did sound a little like their confidence is all over the place, right? They aren't doing too well in the current meta that we have going on, the little bit of roster changes going into the playoffs, and that's a bit scary to have to contend with.
I mean, it did seem like they feel good about the roster changes. I mean, they even said, like, if we keep playing like we do in our scrims. I mean, I'm not one who likes to buy into the Scrim Bucks exchange, but, you know, I mean, if that's going to give you confidence to come in and play at your best, you know, I agree. And then, like I kind of mentioned in the interview, I think what OWCS has been showing us is, like, look, you just play the comps you feel most comfortable in, and you're going to be doing some, like, NRG Shot getting as far as they did, going with that Junker Queen composition. I think that's just a testament to play what you are good at.
Well, hopefully playing what they are good at is going to help them out and give them what they need in order to find that victory for tonight on Saturday Night Overwatch. Now that we've gotten all of our interviews done and completed, let's go ahead and take a look at the lineups, starting off with Team.exe. We got, of course, the great Genji Palas, Beast Mode 759, Junofish, Fob, and Airy. Jeff, this is where, of course, during that interview where we're seeing that nice loading screen, by the way, logo is loading. Keep an eye on Palas. Keep an eye on the Genji before the rest of the team, right? Seeing if this is going to be able to stick that landing.
And this is the double flex DPS look that I was referring to. So we're not getting, who was the hit scan that I saw popping off of that? Lexa. We're not seeing Lexa here in the starting lineup where, you know, was playing the Ashe from the last two times these teams met. So I would anticipate this to go straight into the Malga and Team.exe to come out with a lot of confidence in this lineup, particularly with Palos on that Genji.
All right, now we have EMC Helheim on the docket as well. Next competitor for tonight's Saturday Night Overwatch. Paincare, Fifi, Lazuli, Varied, and Player. And this, what we're talking about, right, Ray, for EMC Helheim. A little bit of new looks for them. hopefully gaining that confidence that they need and trying to get that W to move on into the next round of the playoffs.
We're going to have to see if the new additions coming in, not only do they help them out, like, you know, better situations, better players, but have you been able to get the necessary chemistry with each other in order to combat a strong team like EXE, who they haven't changed anything. They've been solid. They have the chemistry. They've been good. So can you overcome all that with maybe some more talented players?
We'll find out. But now that we've gotten both of our teams' lineups out of the way, completed, we get a better picture of what we're going to be experiencing for this evening. A lot of different conversations that have been had coming out of that interview as well. So, hey, it's my favorite time of the evening. It's my favorite time of Saturday Night Overwatch, and that's starting to get into our desk predictions. And I think for the most part, all of us have the same ideas of what is going to be taking the win, who is going to be taking the win. It's just a matter of how many maps it's going to take to get there. So starting off with myself, I'm a staunch 3-2er for Team.exe. I'm a believer that we're going to go to the 5 maps, and I'm hoping that EMC Helheim is going to be able to take that for themselves, right? What they've, roster changes, scrim bugs, a lot to be said there on that, and so I'm fingers crossed, right? I'm big time fingers crossed. I want maximum amount of Overwatch. We'll get over to you, Ray.
Listen, couple of things. We have a couple of people. So Soav is normally the person who has to throw out the crazy pick. He's not here this week. But we also have our caster Hunter Tane. He will always pick a 3-2 no matter what match it is. So it feels like Sam is just taking his place today. Like, he's got to pick that 3-2 no matter what. And unfortunately, I'm falling into, Spectrion's little hole here. I have picked the cowardly pick. I think just like their previous matchup, it was a 3-1. I think it's going to be a 3-1 once again. I think it runs back very similarly to how it went last time.
And Jeff, you are our final member of the desk. What are those Preds looking like?
Oh, I'm going with a definitive 3-0 here. And this is looking back last 2 times these teams met. EMC were coming in with a 3-0 record. Team.exe were 2-1. Team.exe have not dropped a series since. They've barely dropped a map since that series. While on the other hand, EMC Helheim are coming in on a 3-game loss streak coming into this match. I think, especially with roster changes and things coming in, we even heard the confidence levels in the interviews. I got to give this one to Team.exe all the way.
Look at this. Look at the desk, right? We're 3-2, 3-1, 3-0. It's a Team.exe sweep. Is all just a matter of how long it's going to take for these teams to get there. Jeff, full maximum confidence in the capabilities of this team. Me, a little shaky. Ray, right in the middle, man. You
Cowardly.
You gotta be firm in your convictions, Ray. You do have some evidence leading towards that 3-1. So I'll give you that much, buddy. I'll give you that much. And of course, we do have our casters saying what they are thinking for this matchup. Starting off with Monteneva. And that's we got another coward.
We got Cowards Unite, baby. Cowards Unite.
3-1 Team.exe. Megalas, Megalas. That's
There's sure to be some spies here. Oh yeah, sure to be some spies here. It's the spice we've all grown to know and love here on Saturday Night Overwatch, Sam.
Listen, I understand some spice, right? But this is like nuclear levels, right? This is
look.
Ghost.
I'll say this. Mega and her picks have been an acquired taste on this desk, but she has been correct more times than not. She's gotten a lot of these crazy picks right. So it would not surprise me if she comes through once again. I'm sure that's what she's going to be, pounding the table on when we bring them up here.
Oh, yeah. Well, go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, I think there may be some synergy between Lazuli and Payne Curry, some of the new additions here. Maybe that's what Megalas is leaning on. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we have our casters. They're ready, waiting to go to obviously commentate on our great game coming up. But I do want to bring them up here onto the desk real quick and get some justifications for these opinions, especially from Megalas. That's Megalas. That's some. Listen, I've seen some takes before, right? You've given us some, like Ray says, acquired taste for your predictions, but I think we got to go to that next level, Taste Bud, for this one.
See, this is it's almost like a fine wine. You guys don't have the palate to understand what's happening here.
Oh, wow!
But listen, here's the actual logic. The streets weren't talking to me this time. We haven't actually had the conversation with
The streets were talking again.
No. It hasn't happened yet. That'll be on NA. Don't worry about that. But for here, listen, like EMC was saying in the interview, some new pieces in. You know what that means? Honeymoon period. What better time to have a honeymoon period than right into the playoffs? You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna go great for them. It just has to.
Megalass, I got a question for you. Are the streets not talking to you because we're in EU? It's just, your NA streets are they don't connect.
The NA streets just don't have an opinion yet. Like, they're thinking about it right now. That's why actually after this game I have to go converse with them for NA tonight.
They have no concrete opinions.
No! Jeff gets it. Jeff understands.
You did not on. Oh my God! All right, Martin, you gotta save us here, buddy. You 3-1.
I went for the safe pick. I went for the coward pick. Me and Ray were like that, Like, I was like, I want to do low pred, and I looked at the sheets, I looked at the rosters, I looked at the matchups, I looked at the bracket, and I was like, I'm a believer. I'm a believer that Helheim might take a map off. I've always been a believer in all those, those kind of matchups. But EXE, I don't know, man. Looking like a little 3-1 to me. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. Me and Mott casted together the last 2 nights. I think we're just on the same brainwaves. I'm just saying. Like,
you guys are just flowing. Okay, all right. What that's you two. What a caster pair duo, whatever you get your 3-1s. You be happy about it, I guess, and we'll just live with it here. Still though, right? I do want to get some final thoughts on this matchup actually from our casters as well, since you guys are going to be boots on the ground. Starting with you, Megalass.
I think it is going to be a good one. Like, obviously, jokes and stuff aside, I think bringing in new pieces to the playoffs, it's going to make EMC Helheim, maybe not as synergized as they want to be, but it's going to be a clean look for them. But, I mean, Team.exe, like, let's just be real, their history is favoring them right now.
Absolutely. Okay. And after those interviews we had as well, Helheim admitting the meta isn't favorable to them, and we've been seeing consistently from the pro level play this weekend at Stockholm how volatile that Malga can absolutely be unless you run like the gods Junker Queen we've ever seen, which Energy Shock kind of popping off with that until they're gone now, but it's okay. Regardless, I am very excited to see how they're going to be matching up against Team.exe, who clearly are very comfortable, very confident in the matchup.
And Ray, final thoughts?
I'm just ready for a great showcase. Given that EMC is not feeling good about the Brig Juno, I'm really curious what support lineups they go with here. Do they, lean into like the Lucio Juno? Do they lean into more like a Brig Ana? Or I'm really curious to see where they go with the backline there.
And Jeff?
I mean, it's now or never. Now's Helheim's time to step up. I mean, never mind the 4-4 record versus the 7-1 team. That doesn't matter here. You made it to playoffs. I mean, now it's time to show us what you got.
All right. It is time for them to show us what they got, because it is the winners round 1 matchup between Team.exe versus EMC Helheim. Nevin Megalass, take us away.
Oh, and we will. Going straight into it, everyone. We have Antarctic Peninsula as our first map of choice for Control for our map 1. And what better way to start things off than such a kind of weird map that Antarctic Peninsula can absolutely be between sub-level and Antarctic Labs. It can be kind of volatile to see what kind of comps can be run here, Megalass, right? Because it can go so many different ways. Between sub-level, between Antarctic Labs, and etc.
Yeah, I think the common theme you're going to see is the brawl, right? Team.exe, they got this map pick, and I mean, it makes the most sense, right? EMC Helheim is not feeling as confident on that Malga meta potentially, and so just bring them to a map where it's going to be forced one way or another. Like you said, could be interesting if we see some Junker Queen thrown into the mix, other things like that. But I think if you're EMC Helheim, even if this map doesn't go your way, that's okay. You're in it for the long haul, right? You know that it's going to be an uphill battle. There's a reason Team.exe picked you, right? You are seen as the underdogs, but Team.exe, it's a 7-1 record. There's an asterisk, a loss there. Somebody did it. So EMC Helheim, they just have to replicate that success.
Absolutely. Team.exe can in fact bleed. And Helheim, I mean, I'm just saying, in Norse mythology, Helheim is kind of cold. So we're going over to where they should be kind of comfortable in Antarctic Peninsula. So, like I said, Team.exe, you said it. They have that one loss somewhere along those lines. 7-1. The 7 does not matter. The 1 is all that Helheim has to look at. Here's the head-to-head. Here's what's going on. We have the DPS gonna be duking it out. We have Junofish and Lazuli both choosing that Sigma as their favorite tank of choice. So maybe you see the Sigma mirror at some point. And the backline looking like an Ana might be seen on both sides here with the Brigade and Juno on opposing sides. Now, we are starting to get straight into it, and I love the little penguins. Oh my god, look, it's Pesto without his feathers.
All of the penguins just doing what they do best. But I think that is a good shout. Like you were saying, the Sigma highlight, like Junofish is known for some of the Sigma plays, right? I mean, Team.exe looks so good against these Malga comps all season long, playing the Sigma here. So be interesting. So Helheim, Lazuli, just in the spawn room, just for a little bit of fun. I promise that is not actually allowed to walk out. But interestingly enough, we're starting here, right? Team.exe, very standard meta. The Genji Reaper with the Malga here, just going to be a TP out with the Symmetra. But EMC Helheim, they are playing the Sigma comp that we would expect from Team.exe here. I like the look. I like the confidence of it. We have seen Sigma sort of match up into the Malga before, but it does put a lot of pressure on your DPS to stand and deliver, because if these fights go long, Team.exe is just going to whittle you down.
It's been such a long time since I've seen a Bappin, Lucio, see? In the backline in such a long time in this meta, but here it is, Junofish coming in, gets a really beautiful slam and a even better follow-up on Very. That Baptiste player is gone. Palos getting an excellent dash on the follow-up of the Malga slam, and, I mean, we mentioned it, I'm not even us. Team.exe mentioned themselves, Palos' Genji is something to look at, and I am definitely looking with all my eyes.
Yeah, beautiful slam engage there, really just made it too difficult. Now, we're seeing player already switch off of the Lucio over to the Juno, still providing that speed boost for the team. But I mean, this is a team that doesn't really need the speed here, so it'll be interesting to see if it's just for the orbital ray, as EXE already in.
He's in, and the shield does go up, and I think the fact that Helheim was able to retreat fast enough with that Juno speed ring off of a very coordinated charge attack from Team.exe is very good, but the objective is still ticking up. It's at 30% now, and the ults are still relatively even, nothing too crazy with the flux coming through, but Beast Mode going completely down for the count by Varied on that Baptiste. That's even better for Helheim, especially when, of course, Pink Hair sneaking to the objective, trying to find a kill, but can't find the coach gun over the wall.
Beautiful lamp, though. It actually keeps the dash in this. Wait a minute.
And we're still in. Bob also ready to be expended at any moment here. And there it is. Right in the middle of the objective is going to be able to contest point and put a lot of manpower into Helheim's position here. So much so that Bob gets the kill on Junofish. 58% to a newly found 5% and counting.
And just having to invest Bob there for EMC, I mean, that fight was lost. You probably considered it lost. You saw how many times the Ashes stood still giving up, but Varied and player really putting in the work here. And so now we're going to have a very heavy ult fight, going into this next one here. I think it's going to be EMC Helheim's best efforts to just try to mitigate the value of this cage and then go from there.
Ooh, Juno saw no rock get active, but here's a flux. A cage fight does come through, and Lazuli unfortunately found in the confines of that cage fight. Fifi does shut down the cage, but it's fortunately just a little bit too late. You have no tank, and Varied, I mean, as I say that, Varied still getting these picks on the Baptiste, especially on Palos, which has been kind of the biggest pain in Helheim's backside for a while now, but there we go. Point flips right back in favor of Team.exe, and they're still pressing on Mega.
Yeah, and I mean, they're in a situation where the Palace is going to be taking longer to respawn here, and EMC Helheim has surrounded them. They're on all sides. They don't know where to look for Team.exe right now, but they're finally cleaning it up.
Guys, be really careful who gets sought out by Fifi, who doesn't seem to be able to find the kill. Thankfully, the Mega Pack able to save Airy for a little while before getting pocketed by their Brig there, by Fab, of course. And in the backline of all things, Junofish knocking out Leslie for the count.
Yeah, and so now you're looking for final fight territory. It's probably going to be on this Tracer to make sure a touch comes through. Lazuli also over to the Malga just for survivability. They do have an Orbital Ray to work with, but they are pushing into both this Blade and Blossom that can deny the space of the Orbital Ray.
Orbital Ray does get thrown out right into the fray, middle of the point. Really good for Lazuli to kind of play in, and it kind of forces the Team.exe to kite away from it as fast as possible while the Orbital Ray starts to dissipate. But the extra power that Painter now finds on that Pharah is too much for Helheim to handle. It's for Team.exe to handle, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, the Pharah is definitely going to be a thorn in the side, right? Nobody on Team.exe is going to really readily be able to shoot Pain out of the sky here. But again, they still held on to these DPS ults. At any time, Palos can go up with the Blade. And EMC Helheim, all they're going to have is an Immortality Field to try to neutralize this one.
Kind of playing that poke game right now on this bridge, as of course Painkare allowed to spam out that choke area. Thankfully, of course, it's EXE finding their way through, but the barrage gets found out on Airy, and Fab does get the whip shot. The pulse bomb goes wide, does find a lot of value on Junofish, forcing the rally from Fab to be expended. And now again, Lazuli, unfortunately, the extra power of that Dragon Blade and the Death Blossom is going to be shutting down the rest of the side of EMC Helheim. 99%. I don't think anyone here can touch. Maybe Bear, but that's all there is to it. 1-0 on on Peninsula. Super close.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a shoulda, coulda, woulda situation there. Imagine if we switch over to that Pharah comp a little bit sooner, right? You saw how much Pain was really getting done with these Pharah rockets raining in. Don't get me wrong, they look good on the Ashe as well. But you know, ultimately it was just a little too late. The percentage was ticked up, and EXE just had too much of an ult advantage, right? But, you know, we were looking for signs of life from EMC Helheim to start this one out. This is a map they definitely aren't favored on. It's where the Malga meta is going to be pretty oppressive. So I would be interested, you know, to see if EMC Helheim can just keep their spirits up heading through the rest of this map, as they're going to continue to play this BAP Juno backline. You know, no Brig in sight makes it a little more vulnerable, but Varied has been so damn good at getting the picks.
Absolutely. Varied at this point is the third DPS for Helheim, right? So with the Baptiste there, helps out so much. Now going over to the labs here, going around the side of the coast and kind of pushing Team.exe away from that staircase, and Lazuli getting completely active onto the side of EXE. And the cardiac overdrive gets popped right open. Fab does go down early on in this engagement, meaning it's just all up to Airy to keep her team alive, but unfortunately looking like a done deal in favor of Helheim. This is the bleeding we were talking about, Megalas.
Exactly what they need right now, but this is just the first fight. There's still plenty more to go here. And again, EMC Helheim, they've been able to benefit off this map because of their aggression, right? You don't have time to jump onto Varied as long as you're being the aggressor, but it means they have to keep going.
And keep going, they do. Beast mode going completely sideways back into that spawn room by Painkare, now forced onto their own Genji here as well. And again, Aries, she's down for the count, goes back to the spawn room. It's another quick reset that that Team.exe is forced to take.
Taking that time here, Varied getting incredibly close to an amplification matrix, going to be massive for this fight here, as it's the only tool either team really has to work with, right? So EXE rather is going to have to make the choice of running through it or just giving the respect over to that amplification matrix.
Painkare nearly is getting within an inch of their life now. Here comes the torpedoes. Doesn't really find too much, as again the dive, basically the dive, right? Coming in from Lazuli with the charge is too much for Team.exe to really handle. And Fifi, they're going straight in for the kill and finds it with the help of Painkare.
And that kill onto Junofish is so crucial, right? Ever since Overwatch changed how the respawn system works, everybody else got on the same respawn. It would have been just Team.exe getting back into the fight right there, but Junofish died late. They had to wait for them to return to the fight. Heavy ults coming up for both sides here. I'm expecting a giant investment starting with these orbital rays for both teams.
Should be a good trade-off here, going all around the coastline, but as you can see, Painkare going straight into the air, goes for the dive, goes for the blade, and gets shut down almost immediately. And the overclock from Beast Mode only solidifies this win, this first team fight win for Team.exe. But 80% on the objective, yes, players be able to find a lot of value by stalling to 84%. And finally, Team.exe gets a little bit of points on the board.
upside for Team EXE is they got both, or EMC Helheim rather, is they got both support ultimates out, right? The Rally and Orbital Ray both gone and that armor fading here. Both teams have this cage as well, so Palos is going to have to come up massively with the blade, but, you know, lying in wait is going to be Fifi, this Death Blossom, right? When you're trapped in the cage, nowhere to go. I mean, that Death Blossom, it feels like a perfect size to encapsulate all of it.
That is if they find all of them, but I do hear a window being expended by Varied on that high ground left side and pelting a lot of damage into the fray, but as I say that, Varied kind of shut down by Junofish all around. The cage does get utilized as well, and we have saved up our Death Blossom and cage on Helheim side. Team.exe still finds a win.
And so now it is going to be on Palos' blade here, right? That's going to be the key thing. Even if it's trapped in the cage, right? There's certainly situations where Palos can turn this into sort of a you are trapped in here with me situation if those kills with the blade can come through quickly enough. And it also depends who is trapped in that cage to make sure that the kills come through with the Blossom.
Leslie charges right in, but we've lost Very so quickly. Here's a blade you were talking about from Palos. Finds one and a lamp, of course. Getting so much value, but again, here's Leslie dropping down the cage and just wreaking havoc all over the side of Team EXE. Junofish gets their one, but at what cost? 90% in favor of Helheim.
And, I mean, that was such a crazy investment from Helheim, right? They were down Varied already. They initially started that fight low, and Team EXE now switching over to the Doomfish just to try to get over to the point. They have no ultimates to their name.
They don't. I mean, Fab can build this rally at the very least, but Paincare also building up to that blade very quickly. Over time, going down so fast. Palos even faster, unfortunately, but Fab takes the stage first and foremost back to that spawn room. And it looking very much like a very nicely done, clean fight from Helheim on the second point, now taking us to a round 3.
And, I mean, that's exactly what I want to see from Team EMC right now, right? They have to be the ones setting the tempo, being aggressive, right? Anytime where they, you know, maybe give up a little bit too much positioning, allow Team EXE to move about the map. That's where, you know, Team EXE has been finding their value. Putting the pressure down on them time and again is what, you know, EMC Helheim has been thriving at so far in this matchup, and their path to victory, especially as we're heading to the sub-level, is probably going to continue to be more of the same, right? Both teams should be running this exact Malga comp here. You're going to continue to see the Baptiste from Varied instead of the Brigida here. And, you know, if in terms of a flat-out brawl, I do worry about how much that's going to be able to help the team depending on sightlines and things like that, as there are a lot of little walls and corners that the team could just be just out of sight of the Baptiste.
Speaking of the Baptiste, Varied playing exceptionally well on that Baptiste instead of the Brigida, which we've been seeing for so long. Already, the Bap ship does come through, and Cardiac Overdrive has to be extended by Junofish in order to disengage from this over-aggressive engagement coming in from Helheim. And I think it's just a matter of the fact that they're so dominating in their space-taking and their aggression, Megalast. What can Team EXE do to kind of fix this?
I mean, Team EXE, they have to play just more reserved, right? Like, you're seeing Junofish go in just a little too far off of the charges, and EMC Helheim is reacting to it and immediately, you know, putting that pressure onto the Malga. Doesn't necessarily result in the kill right away every single time, but when you're forcing EXE to immediately have Junofish expend every cooldown, everybody has to focus on keeping that tank alive, you know, it changes how they play the game, and it allows EMC Helheim's aggression to just get that much more aggressive.
Double Malga charge does come through the lamp, plays beautifully in the corner, gets shut down by Juno, of course, who can barely peek at it and just make sure it's not in the way of the fight. This little itty-bitty room doing so much wonders for both Fifi and Beast Mode. Look, find that Death Blossom in the nick of time and win out the fight relatively easily for Team EXE.
Yeah, I mean, Beast Mode, knowing that they had the Blossom coming up, I'm sure Helheim just was not ready for that one just yet here. And, I mean, that's sort of the gamble, right? When you're playing in those tiny little rooms, now you're going to have quite a few ultimates, but the one thing that's going to be hard is Varied with this amplification matrix. You can't get value when you're in these tiny rooms. You have to find setup positions for it.
Big slam, even bigger cage fight coming through to negate the rally from Fab. We are also going to be seeing the window coming in from Varied to complement that cage fight from Lazuli. And just like that, so quickly and only expending 2 ultimates, that's a wonderful team fight for Helheim.
And it's a beautiful trade because you get the rally out as well, right? I mean, I was worried about the usage of that amplification matrix, but being able to pair it on top of the cage, like, hey, you're forced to stand in front of this double damage coming through from everybody. It's such a lethal combo. I didn't really think of that, but now the slam's already in.
The slam's in, the orbital ray is out, and so is Juno Fish and Fab. I mean, ideally, all of Team EXE is out of this fight already. You've lost your support, you lost 1 DPS, you've lost your tank. That was so quick. That was like 5 seconds.
Yeah, and it's just off the back of, you know, Blossom Orbital Ray here. Granted, the pendulum now swinging the other way. Team EXE, they're going to have this cage, the blade, as well as Orbital Ray of their own. Orbital Ray, it's been the definer of this meta as the fight winner.
Oh, this blade is huge. They're all in a tiny little room. Goes for a deep flight, but can't get out. Paolo's going to be finding a lot of value with their own blade here, shutting down Pancare and just allowing Team EXE to find the win. Player does, you know, kind of get their one on Palos, but it's still going to be blue all over that kill feed.
I think what's crucial is Team EXE held on to the Orbital Ray here. This ult can now be used to build everything else, right? It should get them to Blossom as well as Rally here. And, you know, if they can catch up or even, you know, surpass EMC's ult charge here, this could be the comeback that Team EXE needs. But it's going to be off the back of how this Orbital Ray is played, and it seems like EXE is just going to have to try to chase.
They're trying to. They're forced to kind of back out from Eri utilizing her orbital ray in a small area. You don't want to be in that with that orbital ray active. Now it has dissipated. Beast mode does have that Death Blossom ready at any moment. I really want to see it get utilized here, especially as the next engagement is already happening right before our very eyes. And here it is, Mega Last. The lamp does nothing to counteract the power of Beast mode and that Death Blossom.
Yeah, and that's exactly, again, what Team EXE wanted out of that fight. So now heading towards what is sure to be final fight, right? They have the rally to work with as that extra sustain, but I worry, right? If EMC Helheim can get another massive cage, put the amplification matrix right on top of it, it could be bad.
Oh, but they're not even gonna fight on the objective itself. They've lost both their supports, so no amplification matrix to help out with that cage fight that Leslie is still committing to here. It's a little bit of a scrappy fight, but still, Fifi simply cannot escape the wrath of this cage fight. No touch incoming for Helheim. It is Team EXE taking it in a very close 2-1 manner.
Team EXE, they played that fight exactly the way they needed to. Got aggressive with Rally, got in their face, and it just so happened the Stomp also being able to be the final blow, getting both supports out of the fight. You know, it seemed like maybe Helheim just wasn't ready for them to be playing that far forward, and you know, it's been about the tempo, right? Whichever team is being that more aggressive force, taking the space and utilizing it effectively like that has been who has been coming ahead so far. But it has been a back and forth affair, like you were saying, Mott. So I'm looking forward to this series potentially going to distance.
My 4-map, the prediction might turn to a 5-map one if every single game is that close, Mega Last. First of all, we have a hot set on our hands for Saturday Night Overwatch. And second of all, I'm extremely excited to see some variation in the meta. We saw the Sojourn, we see the Baptiste, taking a page out of Landon's book in Stockholm right now, in Dallas. In DreamHack, where they're still playing the Baptiste with that Juno. And even though Helheim didn't get the win of Control, there was so much variation, so much counterplay that Varied was able to assist with just the lamp. The shift with the amplification matrix. So I'm really excited to see how Helheim is still going to be using their comfort picks into a more meta composition that Team EXE is very comfortable with.
Well, so I'd be interested to see as well, right, if EMC Helheim, if they're going to take us to a map that continues to support, you know, the standard meta, right? Because that's the great thing about this playoff format. They not only have the map choice, right, they have mode choice. They can take us literally anywhere in the pool heading forward here, and maybe they want to keep playing the Malga, maybe they don't, but as we're getting a quick look at these stats here, like, it really does tell the story of both these teams going back and forth with each other here. But I mean, there's no real crazy standout, right? Both these teams really just giving it their all.
I have to agree, they're relatively even for the teams here, and that only allows us to, you know, say the narrative that they're gonna go the distance, and it's backed up by literal numbers. And speaking of numbers, both DPS here, Painkiller and Palos, shining beautifully on their respective Genjis, and the stats don't lie. They're so even. Painkiller, maybe some more eliminations, definitely a little 30 to 17. So very nicely done, but still. We were told to look at Palos' Genji. We have gotten the Genji, and I am more than excited to see how Painkiller specifically is going to be keeping Palos in check in the next coming matches.
It's going to be crucial, right? This Genji matchup, especially if we continue to see this meta, it's going to be a consistent factor unless, maybe we see some Echo thrown into the mix or things like that. But both these Genjis really were popping off. I feel like Palos was more of the reserved Genji, just being a little more patient, whereas Painkiller really having to be the one to go and almost initiate for the team, be like, all right, we're going, I'm going to do this, finding key picks like that. And it's amazing when you have a DPS player that does that, but the risk that comes with that playstyle is you can get punished, as we saw a few times there. So EMC Helheim, that's probably going to be their thing moving forward. Just tighten up those little overextensions, make it so they can continue to play this stable style. But currently, I mean, they have Team.exe incredibly close in a match that a lot of people probably thought, EXE should just roll over here. But Helheim's ready to bring it to them.
They absolutely are. And, again, if that game was any indication of how these X-Men are going to go, I fully expect to go the distance today. Even let's add another one. Let's put a draw in there so we get map 6. Let's just go the full distance and have some fun with our players today, with our teams for the night. And again, Helheim has the special opportunity of choosing the mode and the map type, which is so powerful. And if I recall correctly, Clash and Flash are still reserved and one and the same. So I don't think you can choose Clash and then Flash next, So it's gotta choose either or. It looks like we do have our map locked in, however, as we transition over to see the exciting map of King's Row being chosen next.
I like this pick from Helheim purely because it sends a message immediately. Just sending it to Team.exe across the board. Hey, listen, we're not afraid. You want to play meta? Let's play meta. Even though they lost that map, you can certainly still see that Helheim has it in them, and to be able to double down and not worry about it towards anything is going to be absolutely massive here in terms of their confidence. It shows that their mental is in a very good state. But Team.exe on the other side, I mean, they're probably just coming into this with a very neutral thought process. Like, hey, listen, we can't celebrate ourselves for winning just yet on that first map. We have to be able to be more chill and be ready for anything that's going to come our way.
And speaking of, they also have to be very mindful of how close those matches were, because they were so confident. They were so ideally expecting to take that control map and run with it. But, Helheim is giving them a little bit of a run for their money. And kind of nipping at them in the bud a little bit too closely for, I think, Team.exe's comfortability. So as we move over and transition to King's Row, Team.exe opting to go for the Sojourn rather than the Reaper, likely for those long-range areas that King's Row does offer. And then Helheim sticking with it with the Reaper, with the Genji, varied on that Baptiste. Let's see how this defense phase is going to work for Team.exe.
I mean, this defense, it's a pretty simple setup, right? You're going to have Beast Mode continually firing shots on the Sojourn on the high ground here. Whereas Helheim, because they're the attackers, right, especially with them sticking with this Genji Reaper setup, their rotations are going to have to be on point. Probably going to be an early rotation to go to high ground. They can't just leave the Sojourn up there, or Painkiller has to go up there to deal with it. I think the most important thing, right, is, again, when you're playing with this Baptiste, where is Varied going to play? If you sit with the rest of the team, you're a little more vulnerable than a Brigitte would be. But if you sit too far away, then, you're not providing that healing that you need.
Looks like very kind of comfortable on that high ground. As I say that, I mean, Fifi is going in for the kill there. It gets booped away, thankfully, by Fab on, of course, that Brigitte to save Beast Mode and keep them safe throughout this entire engagement. And the double charge coming through a little bit Unga Boonga, but the cardiac overdrive does get expended first for Junofish. And just like that, we were talking about the Genjis earlier. Paolo's on that defensive rush there to make sure that Painkiller is the first to go down, does not get the aggression that Painkiller wants.
And so now looking forward to this next fight, right? Again, no real ability to get over to the high ground. It's going to be a little annoying. But, I mean, Helheim is able to get the pressure onto the Malga, so it'll be interesting to see if they can continue to do that here.
Oh, Beast Mode's so low, and Painkiller notices that and goes for the kill, and that's the opening Helheim needed to make sure the rest of the side of Team EXE does falter here on the defense phase. Paolo's able to find a little bit of a lead on life and gets out, but this is gonna be all 3 ticks here, Megalas.
Yeah, the payload's going to be moving. Team EXE is going to set up their defense. I love how Helheim was able to assault that, right? By just applying pressure to Beast Mode. Sure, it helps that you got the kill, but it meant that the healing could not go to Junofish because everybody immediately peeled to try to keep the Sojourn alive. You know, being able to split the resources like that, it's going to be, you know, probably the best path to victory here for Helheim, especially with breaking this choke, because they know how hard it's going to be.
This choke is probably one of the most devastating ones in the hybrid map pool. So we open it up with that orbital ray from player to kind of open up the streets of King's Road. Take out Ares. She's no longer a factor. Neither is Fab. Both supports down for the side of Team EXE, and Junofish and Beast Mode are likely gonna opt to hold on to these respective ultimates as they retreat back to the third objective. But Junofish simply cannot get away any longer from Lazuli.
And I mean, again, another late pick here onto Junofish means that they're not respawning with the rest of the team. They have to actually wait to get that Malga back in play here. You're seeing the payload continue to move through the streets. You know, advantage being that Team EXE has the orbital ray, but every other ultimate's online. So it'll be interesting to see who can really be the hero to end this fight quickly.
Looking like Fifi wants to go for something a little bit cheeky with the blossom from the air. Drops down, put the pressure on. Here's the cage from Junofish, but Painkiller, oh my goodness, gets so much value off of the Dragon Blade. Fifi wants a little bit of that, you know, a little bit of that spotlight. Gets one with the Death Blossom.
I mean, the fact that Pain didn't get caught in the cage and then just allowed them to go absolutely insane with the Dragon Blade there, you know, you are set up in a position where Team EXE probably has this next fight, right? The dual support ultimates, you're gonna have to kite this orbital ray, but that's fine. You have almost 5 minutes in the bank still. You have time to kite and take your perfect fight if you're Helheim.
And Boost Mode also has his overclock, and ideally to set up on that high ground, you gotta kind of stuff out Fifi, which they absolutely do. They're forced away from that high area. Beast Mode still peppering in the damage, and the dive comes in from Painkiller, and ideally to shut down this overclock, but it doesn't really matter when you're seeing Airy take the aggression, use that orbital ray down the street as to negate the amplification matrix from Varied. Very well done team fight. Fifi getting their one, but team kill nonetheless.
The team kill ringing out here as now EMC, they're pushing into this next one. They got the orbital ray out like they want. I do worry about this overclock from Beast Mode, right? It's going to be a lot of high ground angles that are very difficult for anybody to assault. Painkiller going in alone does not seem to be the answer so far, as they do just kind of end up getting picked because the peel is always there for Beast Mode in the time that they need it. But that's a good one.
That's a great opening pick on air. He gets saw out by Fifi on that high ground. Couldn't glide away to victory, to safety in the nick of time. Cage fight ready for Lazuli, as of course they're pushing back the rest of Team EXE around this little corridor, hugging this mini pack right underneath this little area. But I mean, the dive coming in on the high ground. Here's the overclock we were talking about earlier. Finally gets expended on the low ground here, putting a lot of pressure on Lazuli, who now has that cardiac overdrive active and ready for that lifesteal. Kind of negating the power of that overclock, but still. Helheim retreating, goes back to the first, not even that, the second corner of King's Row. Here's the rally. Oh, Megalas, the fight is just continuing onwards and looking a lot more favorable for Team EXE as a response to Fab popping that rally.
I mean, yeah, when you pop the rally, you have to go forward there, and it's exactly what happened. But Helheim now find themselves in a favorable position, right? As long as, you know, this combo of Junofish and Palos do not kill everybody, right? You have the orbital ray, you have your own cage, you're gonna have Blade, Blossom, everything you could ever ask for, and that card is so close to the end, at least for the time being. This has to be your moment if you're Helheim.
And the moment looks like that orbital ray being ready for a player goes for the Juno speed ring, meaning that we are going in with this cage instead. The orbital ray kind of walking to the left side towards where Beast Mode is stationed on that high ground, and it doesn't matter. Fifi realizing, hey, wait, I'm Reaper, I have the Death Blossom, and I get 3 for my efforts. Yes, this is exactly what Helheim needs, just a little bit more to that third objective. Oh, the Blade's here, Megalas, and it's all over Lazuli, who's forced to retreat early on.
I mean, that's fine. You forced out Blade, and now you're going to be able to come back into this with your amplification matrix and a Blade of your own. As long as this overclock from Beast Mode doesn't go, well, Beast Mode, then, again, this is a favorable fight for Helheim.
Palos setting up on this high ground, duking it out against Painkiller. The deflects are very expended so early on, very low, but thankfully finds the opportunity to use that window right around the corner, and everyone has to kite away from it for that damage amplification. Does a lot of damage. Here, of course, in that Dragon Blade finds one in the back line, maybe even two with Fifi's help, and Palos, a victim of the circumstances, all by their lonesome in the hands of Painkiller. It is a beautiful hold and an even better push from Helheim. 1 minute and 39 seconds left on the clock.
Team.exe, they burnt a lot of time off that clock, like we saw over 5 minutes going into point 3 there. But still, having 1:39 in the bank is an amazing feeling right now if you are Helheim, right? It shows that, you know, even if we have to go extra rounds, right, you have time to work with and things like that. And there's so many stopping points you can prevent that on the way forward. You know, on Team.exe's attack now, they're the ones that have to sort of figure things out. It will be interesting to see how this Sojourn continues to play into effect here as Beast Mode, you know, don't get me wrong, has been finding some good railguns and stuff, but having the Reaper instead for Helheim, it's just made, you know, Junofish feel so much more squishy, so much more vulnerable, and made it harder for the Malga to really do as they please in these fights. So it's going to be something to watch out for in that DPS, you know, character difference throughout the map.
Absolutely, and here, of course, are the stats, and as you can see, looking a lot more favorable for Helheim here, rather than Team.exe, whereas on Control it was a lot more even. But to be fair, when you're attacking, you do tend to do a lot of damage to the defending side, right? And that damage mitigation is a lot more favorable to the defending team. So Team.exe has a chance to bring this back to a much more even position here against Helheim on their own attack phase. Still looking like they're sticking with that Malga composition, Helheim sticking with the Baptiste variation.
And something I just want to highlight from those stats, you know, if you recall, right, Eri has 6 deaths right now. And, like, they are focusing down this Juno, exactly what you need to do in this meta, but doing it time and again has really made it difficult, you know, for these orbital rays to be built consistently, as well as Juno to find value.
And just like that, Eri narrowly getting out of the skin of her teeth. She was literally 6 HP before getting peeled back and retreating back to the hotel. Lamp expended already from Very, so it's time for Team.exe to start getting active on Helheim. Very gonna be the first one to go down, and without any sort of burst healing, Losley is gonna be suffering the same exact fate.
Yeah. I mean, everybody was so incredibly low for Helheim. They needed to back up, and then they chose to back up far too late when Varied was already being caught out and picked there. So beautiful discipline from Team.exe to know that moment, to be able to read the situation and go in where you needed to. And because of the way that you capped this, right, now you're seeing the rest of them push forward for Team.exe because they don't want to fight this choke fight, right? They just want to be pushed past it already, and they're able to do just that.
5.5 minute time bank, very similar to what Helheim were blessed with on their own attack phase, but hopefully, you know, they don't have the orbital ray yet to clear the space out, so Junofish has to do a lot of the groundwork to make space happen. A lot of poking right now, a lot of contesting of the car underneath this archway. The payload peeking through narrowly as areas, you know, starting to play up that orbital ray. And I hope it gets expended almost immediately. And just like this, here it is, speedering in. And here it comes, the orbital ray and the torpedoes just to add some extra damage and hitting over time. The cage just to facilitate that win even easier. We have still trade our supports out. We've lost Junofish, where it should have been a much easier engage. But it's still looking like the DPS are going ham in that back line.
A chaotic heavy investment fight ultimately comes up with Team.exe winning. Granted, they threw 4 ults into that, now only having Beast Mode's Death Blossom to work with. EMC Helheim, they're coming back into this with both DPS ults as well as a cage fight of their own here. So this, you know, spells recipe of EMC Helheim being able to get work done, but as you see, Beast Mode lurking in a similar position to Fifi last round, and we know how much work that Blossom did.
Yeah, Fifi having some great blossoms. Beast Mode can absolutely say the same, but the Dragon Blade from Painkiller is going to be the first one expended, and we're pushing back against the streets here, leaving the payload all by its lonesome, as we have seen Helheim now take the aggression back in their own favor, just wanting to push Team.exe back towards that harrowing archway choke point.
No, the question is, do you actually fight this choke, or are you just going to give it up? It seems like the giving it up will be the answer here. The Reaper's now having a bit of a battle for the high ground.
Oh my gosh, and we drop down like an angel from the sky and bring death to the side of the Team.exe composition here. I cannot believe that actually worked for Fifi. And they're going to set up right again.
I mean, no reason not to, right? Like, it forces extra resources and time from EXE to, you know, get you out of these positions when you go there, and you're able to set up there quite safely. That being said, the rest of the team seems to have backed up, so it will force Wraith for Fifi to get back to their squad.
While Fifi leaves, Leslie is going straight in with that cage fight, and it finds two, of course, with Fifi reapproaching the fight again. Paolo's hiding around the corner here, but Fifi's sharp eyes are able to find him out and send him back to that spawning room, shaving down now, I believe 2 minutes from that initial, 3 minutes from that initial 5-minute time bank.
I mean, not only are you shaving time, right? The payload is slowly but surely moving backwards. So even if EMC Helheim loses a fight here, they're gonna get another one at the end of point B because they just keep going.
Comes a cage fight coming from Junofish. Beast Mode does find, you know, his one with that Death Blossom, but I mean, it is now a really back and forth, scrappy fight, looking a little more in favor of Helheim. Now that Junofish is kind of forced to retreat, play the corner closer to the Helheim spawn, and it is finally a break for the side of Helheim.
I mean, it's a break, but they do have to actively reset back around these corners, right? They did lose a few members to that Death Blossom, and so they have to be able to account for that, as well as investing Orbital Ray, knowing Team.exe is coming into this next one with their own Orbital Ray. It's been the fight win ultimate for a reason here as they clash on the card.
Orbital Ray, huge, gonna be punishing that charge from the Mauga. The amplification is gonna be expended here, but it's not gonna be able to keep up Losley during that damage boost of the Orbital Ray, of the Dragon Blade as well from the side of Painkiller, trying to kind of negate that fight there, but unfortunately it's just not going to be enough. Dragon Blade ready for Palos in this next engagement, which is going to be absolutely massive, Megalas.
And I mean, player just died so late. That actually could be a disaster here for the defense. You're probably not going to get a second touch unless you touch without player being there. For point B, right? And it's not the end of the world if you give up point B per se, but you definitely would like to at least value another fight here. Try to see if you can force out something like this Blade.
And here it is coming from the back line, goes for the dash in, very sought out in the air after that space, the crouch jump, and Palos, we are just simply in Palos' world. He is running all over it. 2.5 minute time bank for Team.exe, bringing this to a round 3.
But again, that's sort of the exact situation you wanted if you were Helheim, right? You were able to force out that Blade without investing anything into your own, right? Make them pay a little bit extra to get point B over the line. Now, you're coming into this, both teams have the cage fight, but you already have your Blossom Beast Mode incredibly close, but not there yet. That small window can be taken advantage of.
Comes with Cardiac Overdrive. Here's that cage you're talking about. Both Blossoms ready, but Fifi ripping theirs first, but it finds nothing!
The Orbital Ray! Player just throws that in after the fight's over. That's absolutely a misplay and a half. EMC Helheim now have nothing while they're about to be pushing into a rally. Potentially Orbital Ray if the fight goes long here. I mean, EXE has potential to have a very similar time bank unless a head can be clicked.
I hope it does. The Widow Skin goes crazy. I'm looking for a headshot here. The shield negating all that damage. And like we said, on the other side of things, yes, Painkiller gets Fab, but the Blossom is huge. And the dive from Palos is nothing. Wait a minute, Megalas. We're still duking it out against Team.exe. They've been shut down 1.5 minutes less for this last engagement.
The fact that they just were able to hold that is a miracle in and of itself. But here's where the next fight becomes incredibly more difficult, right? You have the rally as well as the Orbital Ray for Team.exe. Still nothing for Helheim here. It really is going to come off the back of some quick thinking and potentially a pick coming off of one of these DPS to really turn the tide back into Helheim's favor.
And they're super close to that site as well, but the double support ults, one and both being utilized, and poor Painkiller getting dived by the masses of Team.exe, and it's looking like a done deal. The Orbital Ray is so strong, the overhealth from the rally even better to supplement it. No one's gonna be able to touch here. It is a done deal, less than a minute left, giving them back a minute on the clock for this round 3.
57 seconds separating both these squads, and both of them were able to get point A unlocked pretty quickly here, so this gives them both plenty of time. Team.exe will be attacking first as they are the ones with that minute. For Helheim, right? I mean, you realize the mistakes of your first defense, hopefully, right? Like, you don't try to overcommit too hard, right? Sort of play this out a little bit, maybe even give up a tick. Just play it slow, and then when that overtime engages, that has to be your go button, right? Because, you know, this can quickly snowball out of control into a full map roll if you're not careful for either of these squads.
I mean, the DPS line from both teams here have been absolutely exceptional. Palos in Beast Mode, coupled against Painter and Fifi. But I just think Fifi getting so much value off this Reaper Beast Mode, finding so much value off those Death Blossoms. They are two people to really watch out for on either side of these teams. And I think the way that they play into this attack phase for Team.exe with their Reaper is gonna be monumental. And like I said, these stat line looking a lot closer than you would think compared to when we first saw them on the first side of Team.exe's attack phase.
Yeah, and now both squads, the Sojourn has been foregone. We had both teams just opting into this hard meta. Obviously, the exception still being the Baptiste here, but it's going to be on Very to live through this one and make sure this defense can actually last.
I believe in the Very Baptiste every day of the week. Painter coming in for a little bit of poking on the top side of things, going and putting a lot of pressure on the back line, and the dive is monumental. I mean, yes, you've lost Painter, however, getting about both supports here is massive, is what I would say if we didn't forget about Palos being that guy.
Oh, and now, I mean, this is a situation where, like I was talking about, Helheim has to give up a tick here. Simply give them the pressure on the point. Let them have it. That's fine. But Lazuli just chooses to go in.
And shuts down Palos, which has been, again, one of the biggest factors in Team.exe's winning conditions a lot of time. But here's one, not even one, but 2 ticks on the board here for Helheim. That's massive in the grand scheme of things. We've lost Lazuli. Yes, Fab is down for the count, but it is looking a lot better for Helheim's defense phase here, as Palos stuck on this high ground and forced to kind of duke it out against Painkare on the Genji. But the objective is still being contested, still being ran through with Helheim there. But there we go. The defense comes through. We have made it to a winnable match here.
85.5%. You've got 2 minutes to defend that if you are Team.exe. Not impossible, but certainly difficult, right? I feel as though Helheim, with how aggressive they've been, this is going to be difficult, but I would love to see almost like a measured approach, right? Where you simply accept sort of save all your ults for one final fight. It's dangerous, it's very risky because it gets scary, right? But if you can actually stack everything, maybe even force an early orbital ray from Airy and then come back in after, because you have 2 minutes, right? You have multiple fights to take here. It's just going to be about, setting up that perfect fight for yourself, or, relying again either towards Painkare or Fifi on this DPS line, finding an opening pick, and then using that as your go button.
I'm anxious. Can I be honest? I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very anxious right now.
There's tension. There's so much tension, and that's what's crazy, right? Like, Helheim, again, on paper, this should not be a close matchup. Team.exe should be walking all over them, but the fact that this is so unbelievably close, you can feel the energy from both of these teams. Like, this is a playoff match. You feel the energy, and that's what I love about Overwatch so much.
We have 5 seconds before we start this next round. Here we go. Starting off with Painkare on that Windmaker. Might be able to find a pick here, but everyone is playing extremely safe. Painkare forces us back to that Genji. And they have time to do so. 2 minutes in the time bank to do all this. Rotating around that statue here. Zubi is already expended for that extra healing over time and extra sustain. Hyper Ring expended, but normally walking right through it. In fact, it's going to be Junofish walking towards Helheim here, as again, Beast Mode going in for that peppering of the damage, and Painkare trying to find a little bit of that surprise attack from the high ground. But now we're pushing straight into the objective itself, and Palos not saw out of the backline quite yet. Very forced to expend that lamp for themselves, and the shift, and not giving enough care to the tank. Largely duking out against Junofish and losing the exchange.
Yeah, but I mean, the supports are who just went down for the side of EXE, right? So this could be a situation where, again, the attackers, because they respond quicker, they were going to have an advantage until Fifi just decided that Palos needed an extra kill here. So now, those supports are definitely going to get back in time.
The saving grace is that both teams here have extremely similar ultimate percentages. Save for Palos, who's so close from that extra kill on Fifi, right? So Palos target number 1, and then it looks like Lazuli is, following through on that. Here comes the charger on the supports. The backline in shambles, especially Fab, who just can't defend themselves in time. Fifi takes care of Eri as well. So Team.exe is naked. No speed, no healing, no overhealth. But the cage fight is here. But Palos deflected by Pain Care, forced to go back to the spawn room with Fab and Eri. And it's 2 ticks and some change. We're ticking up that factor. Junofish trying to touch it in the nick of time before Eric can come back, but no healing. It's just staggering coming in. The rally comes through. The orbital ray even better for the side of Helheim.
It was scrappy, but Helheim gets it done. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous for them for a moment. I feel like there was definitely opportunities to just absolutely throw that away, but they just had too much time. And, you know, again, the side of Team.exe, they had to play that perfectly. And unfortunately, when you have to play perfect, right, not every, you know, it's just not a realistic expectation of anybody, right? You could put the best teams in the world in that situation, and all it takes is one pick going wrong here. So now we have a tied series on our hand, and we have a Helheim squad. You know, they taste the blood, and they now realize, oh, wait, we can do this. It's no longer a mirage. It's real.
It's so the fact that they believe so much and they're doing something that, you know, they feel not comfortable on, that being what's meta with the Brigida instead of the Baptiste instead of the Brigida, and it's working exceptionally well. I think Bap Juno is low-key slept on in favor of the Brig Juno, and you lose the rally, you lose the overhealth, use the shield, you get so much sustainability with that Baptiste that clearly we're seeing with Varied on the roster here, with Varied on the Baptiste, rather than the Brig for the side of Helheim. 1-1 this series, I'm still shocked. It's so even now.
Yeah, and I mean, to just, again, highlight on that Baptiste, really, it's so crucial when you're playing it that, you know, you're a second damage dealer, or a third damage dealer in these compositions, right? You have to be able to provide your value in that way, right? As well as your positioning has to be on point. But of course, you know, looking at these stats, I think there's 2 very clear outliers who have 2 guns and a smile on their face as we get a look at their stats here. I mean, Malgas, of course, are doing tons of damage all the time. It's what you expect, right? But the fact that these stats, I mean, they do indicate at least one thing. While Junofish is getting more damage done in these situations, Junofish is also dying, you know, an extra 2 deaths per 10 more than Lazuli.
Yeah, and this is actually way closer than I thought it would be. For the most part, you know, Junofish having so much comfortability on that Malga, and I feel like it's very clear from the stat line. Yes, they're relatively even, but Juno does have that slight advantage, say for deaths per 10. You know, a little 7 instead of 5. My guy's throwing. Okay, no, he's not. He's doing exceptionally well on this Malga, on this tank roll. And I don't know, just it's so polarizing to see what could happen between you know, the the map 3 into map 4 into looking like could be a map 5. But before we get into that map 3, we're going to a very quick little break. Give ourselves a little bit of time, a little bit of woosah after that tense game 2. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more Overwatch action.
Feel my heart, it's beat tight. All my body's breathing, it's just you and me. Feel my heart, it's beat tight. All my body's breathing, it's just you and me. I'm so caught in this, was so
know, you get an insight and you know something, you know, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, you know. But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Hello, beautiful people. We are back with some more Saturday night Overwatch action between Team.exe and EMC Helheim. Extremely even series. A riveting 2-1 on Control. And even better 4-3 on King's Row in favor of Helheim. So here we are. It is 1-1 in this series. I'm Sabaneva, joined by the wonderful and talented Mega Last to cover this match for you guys today.
OMG, no you're wonderful and talented. But, yeah, I mean, Mott was said it perfectly to a T. These two teams have been on each other, right? It is a back and forth, fight for fight, blow for blow. Like, this is like it's like if you see a really good boxing match, like a battle for the ages, just both fighters giving it their all here. And as we're heading into our third map, EXE had their pick again, and I think the Malgameta is going to be here to stay, Mott, because we're just heading to New Junk City.
Malga just does so wonderfully on Flashpoint in general. New Junk City, so close quarters, so volatile, especially that first objective that you're forced into that arena space no matter what. So it really does come down to the tanks. Does it come down to Junofish duking it out with Lazuli, or Lazuli winning the exchange against the Malga Mirror? The DPSs we have seen multiple times, Megalas, so impressive in their own right on the Reaper and the Genji respectively. Even the Sojourn made an appearance earlier on Control Point, but I think as we're starting to get deeper into the series, I think both teams are going to be sticking with that Maga Reaper Genji for a little bit, and being a little bit varied in the composition, going for that Baptiste likely.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the main difference maker, right? And the Sojourn from Beast Mode was finding value, right? But the difference between Sojourn and Reaper, specifically in this comp, it's just bursting onto the tank, right? Obviously, the Malgas are going to be incredibly hard to kill. That's going to always be what you're focusing on when these teams are going against each other. But it's crucial to note, like, when you have that Reaper, right? It's a frontline presence versus somebody like a Sojourn who's looking for the backline. And sure, you might be able to find these picks here or there, or get a good railgun to remove a DPS, but without that constant source of damage to, really hinder these tanks and make them second guess their decisions, it's just going to allow them to sort of run free, as we've seen in several fights from both of these squads.
Oh my god, the little Junker Ducky. I love the things that the art observers find. I love them for it. But like we said, starting things off right here, as you can see, is going to be on Arena. And look how tight-knit the corridors are, how even the center objective is so circular and forces you to look at your opponent the entire time. There's no running on Arena. So Team EXE already locking in what we pretty much expect to see from them. But EMC Helheim, you know, Painkiller hovering over the Juno, and I wouldn't be mad seeing them make an appearance in the series.
No, I mean, nobody would be upset in the slightest here, but I think it's just going to be more of the same. But, you know, that being said, the Genji is not present. It is currently going to be the Venture here. Some teams have opted for this look, right? Even though the Genji is super, super strong, right? Venture can provide those extra angles and stuff, especially for this first point at least, right? It's so narrow that, you know, when you're shooting these drill charges, then you can just do so much.
And when you're charging right into area and fab like this, you do even more value coming in from the side of, you know, of course, Team EMC Helheim. So, geez, they are just running over Team EXE over and over again. Very nicely done, especially from Fifi, who was able to follow up. Same with Painkiller after that charge attack.
And I mean, yeah, again, EMC Helheim displaying how tempo can really win them the game, as well as their game plan has just been to put this pressure onto the backline, right? Eri, you know, not really making any mistakes or anything like that, just constantly having to run, even in the middle of a fight. You're watching, you know, Lazuli, everybody who should be focused on the Malga is just shooting at a Juno, and Eri just doesn't know how to respond to it.
Oh, Helheim looking a little bit split up right now, forced to kind of reconvene at the front of the objective. My Venture, Painkiller, able to find their way back to the rest of the team here, but the fight has kind of wrapped around these barricades of the arena, and they're fighting it out in a poke phase here, as of course Painkiller trying to negate the contesting from the side of EXE, but the dive from Palos is huge. Of course, that lamp is going to be expended here. Very trying to find the high ground in their favor, but it won't happen for too long with Junofish there to make sure that Varied is not going to get the value needed that Helheim is looking for in this next team fight. Painkiller saw out again. No dig, no nothing. And 9 speed tick over to 99%. It's looking like it's going to be another recontest for Helheim as well. I would say, wait, Lasley popping off.
Yeah, Helheim just wins that. Like, it's a very back and forth fight. You lose your bat first, but you're trading backlines the entire time, and nobody's really able to get the healing. So now, being able to secure that center here, now we're moving over to the Ducks for our next fight. Both teams coming into this with 5 ults, besides Eri being a little bit behind, because again, you're seeing what's happening, right? Eri is just under pressure here, not able to provide that healing, means no orbital ray charge.
The player, speaking of orbital rays, has it in their back pocket. Speaking of, so does that Titanic Shock. Here comes the window. First and foremost, the cage to cut off the power of that amplification matrix, but you can't cut off the power of that beast mode. I'm sorry, that Blossom does catch Painkiller a little bit off guard alongside the lamp itself, but here's player coming in with that orbital as well on the main objective, and we've expended 4 ults for Helheim in favor of the 3 from Team EXE.
Yeah, I mean, the orbital ray comes in late. You maybe didn't need it if you were a player, but you wanted to secure the fight, so I more than understand the investment. Now, you're going to see Palos go in with his blade, as well as Eri finally having this orbital ray is massive here. Tectonic Shock, it can be an impact on the blade, make it a little bit scary for the Genji to push forward, but I don't know exactly how this is going to shake out if Palos is able to stay in the air.
Lasley always going first, and here comes a Titanic Shock from Painkiller. I mean, as a negation to the orbital ray, it's definitely an attempt, but not the answer that Helheim was looking for. EXE looking so strong. I mean, you've lost Eri, yes, but you still have Fab. You still have Junofish of all people, taking names as well as Palas. So, going for a last minute contest, make the objective go a little more in favor of Helheim. Maybe bring it to about 80%-ish before the retake. Nope, 75 is all we're going to have.
And, you know, 75 as the flip comes through. That is one fight territory on Flashpoint, right? It looks like, oh, you know, 25%, so much. You see how quickly it ticks up. That's just the name of the game here. Still, Palos, with this blade, is going to be the factor for next fight. Fifi, you know, it's nice to have the Death Blossom, but nothing else to really combo it. Means, you know, you're just going to see a lot of escape tools come out.
Oh, but keeping escape from the Dragon Blade is a real question here. I mean, again, players attempting to, but Palos finds at least 1, maybe 2 supports? No! Very shutting down that idea from Palos' head. And now we are pretty much even here, 3v3, no tank for Team EXE, being largely getting real active, making sure this backline does not survive the clutches of the Malga. And that is going to be a done team fight for the side of Team EXE in favor of Helheim as they retake the objective.
Lazuli has just been so willing to go in on these fights. Like, that's what's been helping EMC Helheim as well, is no fight is lost until every single member is dead. They're constantly fighting, even when they're down here. Like, for example, right, they're at a pretty significant ult disadvantage. Team.exe has a lot more for this one. So it'll be interesting to see how Helheim gets through it.
Here comes a rally from, of course, Fab, and it's all they really need. You kind of trade out your Brigidas here. Regarding the cage fight from Lazuli is shutting down this entryway for Team.exe. But, I mean, as I say that, Beast Mode does find the value with that Death Blossom and finds the fact that they have now won out this objective at the Ducks. Now moving onwards in Junkertown.
Yeah, tied up one apiece here. Very, very nice for these squads. But, you know, it is now sort of about that investment, right? We're seeing Helheim, you know, sometimes it bites them in the butt there. You maybe want that cage back. Now that the indoor points are mostly done, you're seeing Pain go back over that Genji as well here instead of the Venture. I feel like this is going to just help, right? Being able to control and police some of these high grounds and just move around the map a little more freely on the Genji than he can on the Venture.
If Helheim's ultraing correctly, they do have both support ultimates as a, you know, advantage day, and they're going to be locking it down on this high ground, and as well as the orbital rays coinciding and passing by one, like star-crossed lovers. Varied and Lazuli finding their picks needed here. Helheim in a total really finding the first fight in their favor by being the aggressor. I, again, love Pain Care back on this Genji. The Venture was a nice, fresh of breath air, but I think to keep Palace in check, go for the Genji.
Exactly, and so now EMC Helheim, they did have to invest both support ultimates, like you said, Fab, halfway towards that rally, so once it comes online, it could be massive here. But it's a similar situation to what we saw at the start of the Ducks, but now EMC Helheim just getting aggressive.
Ooh, so aggressive, in fact. Fifi coupling that with the Death Blossom means, of course, another one team fight. Helheim's so good at making these team fights last less than 10 seconds, honestly.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And look at this. They're not even holding the point. They're just going to continue to hold forward here because they just want to continue to keep their foot on Team.exe's neck. They don't want to give them the chance to set anything up.
They're being a little cheeky in the low corner. The Hyper Ring does come through. The blade from Painkiller gets utilized so effectively against his cage fight. Gets shut down by player, of course. No more cage coming in, but here's a Dragon Blade from Palos, hyper focusing on player, making sure that Helheim doesn't really have the support needed here, and the teleport in plays goes absolutely crazy, but not crazy enough. 9-9 to a now flipped over 16%.
But, I mean, Team.exe, we talk about overinvestment. That's 4 ultimates done and dusted here for them, now only relying on this Death Blossom. Meanwhile, EMC Helheim, they're coming in with a cage, getting closer and closer to their own support ult, and they have, you know, a fight or two that they can lose here, or only being at 40%.
Fighting, duking it out on this slight hill area here, but here comes again that Death Blossom from Beast Mode, and it narrowly gets the value needed to shut down that cage fight from Lazuli, which was protecting Helheim from that aforementioned Death Blossom.
And so now the board is reset for Team.exe. They know that. And so that's why they're playing so far forward, right? They want to see if they can force these support ults as well as make it very difficult to get over to the objective, as now it's already 83%.
Comes an Orbital Ray. Such a strong ultimate to be expending here, and it's already looking like a good matchup for Helheim as they, you know, start going towards this point. But, I mean, we do forget Flashpoint ticks faster than most control.
That can't happen. You can't invest Orbital Ray to win the fight and then not get somebody over to the objective in time. Oh, that is absolute tragedy right now for EMC, as now, you know, they find themselves down, you know, only one more point that Team.exe needs to take Flashpoint here. And they're going to have their own support ult combos coming up, right? Both support ults incredibly close for Team.exe.
If I was Team Helheim, I would be so devastated. My mental would be shattered. I know I low-key sitting on the point on third objective, but comes a charge, kind of negating it. Here comes a rally as well. Big stun coming in, but Fifi perhaps to pop out with that Death Blossom. Thankfully, the shield was still there from, of course, that rally and the Orbital Ray from Aerie just to kind of help sustain the team fight here for Team.exe. Might be enough, in fact, even after losing out on Fabi and ultimately their Juno as well.
And it's super crucial that they had that kill onto Palos there at the end, right? Because now EMC is going to have a chance to get in on this next fight. It's going to be a little bit sketchy though, because there's Team.exe is still working with both DPS ults and a cage coming through. Very holding on to this rally. It's the first time that we've seen them really forced onto the break, and we can see why they don't like the style as much as the map, right? It restrains them just a little too much.
You're forced to play a different kind of defensive and stable game plan, so I could really see how it can be a little bit of a boon for Helheim. But what's a boon to a bane to a Dragon Blade is what I would say. Oh my gosh, the Death Blossom from Beast Mode as a response, so strong, but the survivability and the power of Helheim just slightly stronger.
As well as Helheim, I mean, look at the investment difference, right? It feels like every single fight, one team's over-investing, and this time it was Team.exe. Throws in all three of those ultimates, doesn't come up with the fight win. Meanwhile, Helheim just invested the Rally and Blade. So now, having their own good combo with this Cage and Death Blossom, getting ever closer, plus player getting closer to that Orbital Ray as well. This could be two separate fight-winning tools here that can really tie the series back up.
EXE is starting to go in with that Hyper Ring. Turbio does come out. Here comes the cage fight, however, as Junofish walks straight into it with the rest of the team of Team.exe, but you've lost your backline once more. Palos and Beast Mode are so susceptible to the power of Helheim without any sort of healing, and we've made it a lot more even here, 65 to 82 and counting.
Off of just the cage, so now you still have this Orbital Ray, you still have a Death Blossom to pair inside of it to create tons and tons of space. Fab, whether they're aware of it or not, has a big goal of trying to build this rally before this fight breaks out, because they're going to need to try to stun this Blossom if Team.exe has any chance of flipping this point.
I really hope they do as well. Blossom right for Fifi. They're starting to get the aggression out. The deflect already gone and dusted. The Orbital Ray even better. And once again, the backline of Team.exe just can't sustain themselves long enough to help out with the team fight with Juno and Palos there. Here comes a 2-2. Again, so close, Megalas.
These teams, they're determined to bring it all the way. Your Map 5 Predators are looking pretty confident right now, to say the least. But it will be interesting to see how this fight ends up breaking down, right? Similar ult situation across the board here. And I feel like it's going to be another time where really anybody can be the pop-off hero. All it takes is one pick to really cement a favor and build the momentum for either of these squads.
And to be lucky enough to have this open space as your last objective on Flashpoint works so wonderfully for both teams here. Completely mirrored comps. You have the Blade and DPS ultimates on Helheim's side with that rally. And speaking of the rally, both of them extended soon after the charge in from Lazuli. Here's the cage fight, trapping my poor boy Paincare in the fray, and Fifi suffering the same fate. Helheim starting to crack at the seams a little bit against the pressure of Team.exe.
I mean, but again, we talk about those trades, right? 3 ultimates having to come out for Team.exe here versus just the rally investment for Helheim. It's going to be these DPS ults paired off against each other, as well as a cage from Lazuli here. But, you know, that cage, it can be a blessing and a curse, right? When you're trapped in with these DPS, Palos, or Beast Mode, they can just decide to pop ult and do tons and tons of damage that, if not focused down, can, you know, turn what is supposed to be your fight advantage into, you know, something against yourself.
Well, look at the rotation here going all the way from the back end of things. Here's a dive in with that cage. Resist, we're coming with this cage fight to kind of resist that manpower, and Beast Mode, I mean, has to take the initiative and realize, no, we need to win this fight. I go for the Death Blossom as well.
And that's exactly what Team.exe could ask for. All they could ask for and more here. They got the cage, both DPS ults, and their only ones that found value was their own. Now pushing up. Again, want to create a situation where maybe the point has to be a second nature thought.
Comes a Cardiac Overdrive already expended for the side of Team.exe for Junofish specifically, and I mean, it is looking like a done deal. Palos locked in. They drawn out all the ultimates from Helheim, except for Fifi, who has taken initiative to go to the objective with 99% on the board. Overtime activated, but no one can touch.
I was to say, Paincare is lurking, whether they were aware of it or not. This is all just trying to buy time to get the Malga as well as players Orbital Ray back in.
Oh, and player does get the Orbital Ray in question. That's huge. It goes all over the objective, and Palos, oh, just going down. That's the main brunt of your power, and looking like, you know, Beast Mode's so low as well. Can they do it? Can they do it, Megalas? Can Helheim duke it out with the advantage of numbers? And they absolutely do. And they've also brought themselves closer to some ultimates.
EMC Helheim, the battle has just begun, right? They have to now battle back. They cannot lose a single fight. And Team EXE is stacking ultimates. Already the cage is online. They're getting close on everything else here. Meanwhile, them themselves, right? They're just working with a cage and a rally here, having to invest the orbital to win that fight. It was necessary, but now you find yourselves sort of at a disadvantage.
Damage-wise, absolutely. Fifi already so low, kind of getting healed up, doesn't have to use a recall quite yet, but here's a double cage coming in, and Lazuli's health bar very low, so low that's at 0! Beast Mode gets the Death Blossom coupled with the Rally and the Orbital Ray. The one fight we're talking about has been won in favor of Team EXE, taking us to a 2-1 lead in the scoreboard.
It's so incredibly close between these squads. But again, it feels very similar to Control, where ultimately just an ult advantage. There was too much ground for the side of EMC Helheim to recover. And, situations like that, obviously it makes it difficult when you're just again behind it. But, this was them at their least comfortable, right? They were forced to play the Brig style. And they still made it incredibly close here, right? So now I expect this pendulum to swing with Helheim getting their pick of mode and map coming up next year. But, it's only a matter of time. They have to be able to sort of, like Helheim just pathing forward here, they have to be able to figure out, how to not overinvest in these fights to make sure they have the tools needed for, these final fight situations.
That was so riveting. And if you look back, if you think back on third point where Helheim unfortunately kind of forgot about it to recap in their favor, this could have been a completely different series. This could have been a completely different scoreboard as well, because they won the fourth objective after that. So, shoulda, coulda, woulda, hindsight is 2020. Could have been a 3-1 for Helheim, but it went the distance on Flashpoint. Now we have brought ourselves to a map 4 and match point for Team ENC. Wow, this was Team EXE, sorry. This was an absolutely massive win for the side of Team EXE on that last objective. The Blizzard, I'm sorry, not Blizzard, what am I talking about? The Death Blossom, the Orbital, and the Rally just, oh my gosh, Beast Mode just went literally Beast Mode, and the stats don't lie. Slightly lower in the DPS side of things and the kill side of things, but they played the objective. That's the name of the game, baby.
Exactly, and that's all you have to do at the end of the day. I think the most important thing here when you're looking at everybody's stats, right? Fab and Aerie still feeling that pressure, the most deaths in the lobby for either squad here. And it's, it's absolute hell when you're these supports. They're constantly under siege. But, you have to look at who is sieging them here, and it's going to be a comparison of our Reaper players. Obviously, Fifi had to switch at the very end, but still, the Reaper spirit was there, and it seems like Beast Mode, was contributing. Like, it's again, look at these stats, right? Back and forth, a little bit more damage to Beast Mode, more limbs coming through from Fifi means they're more in sync with their team, more deaths coming on the side of Beast Mode as well. Like, it just tells you everything, right? These teams really are just slamming into each other back and forth, and we can't say it any more times.
We can't. They are slamming each other like two Malgas charging into one another. It is so close, and it just really falls back towards playing that objective, playing Flashpoint, playing your comp, playing your strengths, and arguably very no longer on that Baptiste, having to be forced to the Brigida has some shining moments, but I think I do generally think that maybe I think even to the game 5, the round 5, could have been seeing the Baptiste come back as you have all that open space to really work with. You're not so confined to the small corridors of small areas that the other Flashpoint areas on New Junk City do, constrict yourself towards. So I do hope that we see the same, the Baptiste come back, especially as we've already locked in our 4th map of the day, map and most selected. It's going to be Escort on that beautiful Shambali Monastery.
Yeah, and Shambali, like you said, this is definitely a place I could see the BAP getting a maximum amounts of value. Lots of high ground to control and be able to hold on top of here. But something I would be interested to see as well, but is the fact of Echo, right? Normally when you're seeing Shambali come up because of that amount of high ground I just discussed, you have to be able to control it a lot more consistently than the Genji can here. Sometimes teams even opt out of the Reaper. They end up on like a Genji Echo situation here. Which then leads to a little bit less burst and things like that. But, you know, it is what it is. We'll have to see how this works out because Helheim, you know, back on the Baptiste hopefully should be a better look for them.
I completely agree. I was a big fan of Baptiste and the Juno, and I think, you know, bringing ourselves back to the modes of escort and hybrid, it allows Baptiste to really play the game the way Pat was intended to play. Scoreboard again, 2-1. Team EXE on this match point on Shambali, and ideally, they just want to take it all, go the 3-1, and, you know, go to sleep. It's kind of late over there, right? So, at the same time, I'm excited to see what we're going to be locking in on both sides here, as again, Shambali Monster going to be the map of choice, and again, could go either way. I hope that Echo does come out, as I have been kind of a fan of seeing Echo kind of prosper in the meta with the Malga. The sticky's so strong, the focusing beam even better to finish off targets quickly, and ooh, we're getting our wish today. Not one, but 2 Echoes.
Yeah, you go ahead, stow the Genji away for the time being here. And just because, again, there's a lot of verticality, a lot of up and down. You don't want to have to be looking for a wall every single time. You'd rather just fly up there and get the value done yourself here. EMC Helheim, I think player is doing a little bit of trolling. Juno is a requirement. Zenyatta is not. But they're in the attack response, so they're allowed to do that here. And this first point, there's so many different ways to assault it, right? Because you have this sort of initial fight that occurs on the high ground, then the attackers just sort of have to push you off of here, and as defenders, you're just okay with that. Like, it's almost like forcing resources from the side of Helheim to remove you, and then you go set up for your actual defensive fight, which is going to be on that second corner.
Yeah, player was going for that pixel spot where you can shoot a volley to that high ground and maybe get a pick. It's kind of like Widowmaker strategy, but as you mentioned, Juno is a requirement player, and player understands that. Goes back to the Juno to help facilitate this win, ideally, for Helheim on Shambali Monastery. But this high ground so strong that, you know, Helheim is forced to come in and clear the said high ground. Paincarrot gets his tickets on Palos, and that's the end of Palos' story on that Juno. On that Echo, same with Junofish. But looking like Fifi, unfortunately, getting a slight disconnection, going back to us, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully we get my goat back in the game ASAP.
I mean, yeah, they killed the Malga so quickly that they just decided to go on a victory lap already. You know, shut down the computer, go for a bit of a jog. But yeah, you know, tech issues happen. I'm sure Fifi will join the lobby momentarily, but I mean, yeah, that's actually a beautiful breakthrough for Helheim, right? They didn't have to waste a lot of time. Their simple pathing was able to take them up onto the high ground exactly where they needed to. And now, depending on how quickly they can get this payload pushed, they may even be able to disrupt this first corner defense and force Team EXE to hold it right at the end of point A.
And thankfully, you do disconnect at the very beginning of the map. Like, you still have basically 3.5-4 minutes, right? You basically have so much time. You don't have too much ult charge either. So pretty much even against beast mode here with Fifi's ult charge. So I'm glad a DC happened now than, you know, overtime 3-3 round 4, right? You know, so payload cruising along around this bend.
Cruising along, and like I said, EMC is going to make it so this, you know, annoying choke right here that you're seeing the payload pass through is not going to be held, right? It's this final corner is now going to be the main concern here. I will say, for the attack, it's going to be interesting to see where Varied is positioned once again, because this BAP has to be saved.
Whoa! Palos getting Paincarrot a bit of his own medicine with those beautifully placed stickies. The precision on those projectiles was beautiful on Paincarrot.
Exactly, and now you are watching the side of EMC Helheim just sort of back up, give respect over to that, wait for their Echo to get back in the fight here. Towards this next fight, I mean, Paincarrot, if you can actually build up to this duplicate, have 2 Malgas on the field incredibly early on, I mean, it can be absolutely what you need to break through.
Because the stickies for, of course, Paincarrot doesn't really find too much value as Lazuli gets of that, as Junofish finds a healing output, but here's the duplicate you were talking about earlier on the Malga. And 3 Malgas on my screen right now is not usually what you want to see in Overwatch. That's a very scary character. Even scarier is the fact that Helheim has now capped it with 4.5 minutes on this next point.
And the fact that they were also able to get EMC, or EXE rather, to use that orbital ray is massive, because now you still have your own orbital ray to work with. It's the fight win ultimate for a reason. That being said, you know, EXE can set up certainly to negate it just as well. They're going to be able to dupe the Malga just the same here. We'll have to see if that same exact value is found, or if Helheim can find a way out.
Payload still cruising along the corridor of the tight-knit corridor of this cave area. Just like that. Death Blossom, what more is there to say? Beast Mode on top of it every single time. Junofish gives him the go button, and Beast Mode presses it with fervor.
So far, we have 2 orbital rays and 2 fights lost on Shambali. This might be a record. Somebody has to go check the archives, but now Team.exe, they still have more tools to work with, right? They still have this duplicate as well as a rally. And now, it's going to be harder to find value of this amplification matrix, especially when everyone's lurking.
Ooh, Palos almost gets sold out, forced the dupe early on, and here's the window. They both... Yo, 2 Magas charging at me is not fun to see from just my perspective. Imagine playing into it. Palos finds the kill of the stickies on Varied and the honing beam on a low HP player. Painkiller does get his one, but not for very long.
I mean, Eri is going to have to respawn here, and so that's why you're seeing Team.exe reset up on this high ground, right? That main source of healing is gone. So that is a good pick coming through from Painkiller here. Now you're going to be able to see hopefully some payload push start to come through. Beefy wants to set up for this Blossom, but it's going to be so incredibly hard because, again, you're having to deal with this uphill mobility that the payload just kind of has to move along.
Okay, big poke battle coming through from between Lazuli and Junofish. Fab's poor shield being put in the brunt here as he charged right in the Hypering Forest as a disengage, and Painkiller coming in to save the day with the duplicate on the Malga. So again, another Malga on the board here. Beast Mode couldn't teleport out in time, and the aggression's just there. The cage fire is also ready, and poor Junofish ran right through everything, and the payload's still cruising halfway through Objective B.
I was going to say, yeah, for the first half of that fight, nobody was pushing the payload here. Varied has to go back for it at the end here. So there will be another attempt at a defense here for Team.exe. They are going to have to rely on this orbital ray to help them build with the rest of their ultimates because they're just a little bit away from everything else.
And back in the blender you go. Another lost orbital ray from Eri, shut down immediately by Fifi, but we're still back in the fray. 2 Malgas against 1 Malga who wins here. I mean, poor Lazuli is not going to be able to find the value. Here's a cardiac overdrive, but all you can really do... Wow, Malga is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
I mean, yeah. Absolutely crazy what you can do with a cardiac overdrive. But, I mean, EXE being able to hold on to that there is absolutely massive. Now, they're going to have their own combo of this Cage Blossom to work with. And, there's not really any other tools for Helheim. So this could potentially be starting to set up for Team.exe getting a point B hold.
Going on a little bit of a flank here, has the Death Blossom, and just from the reigns of the heavens comes the value with the Death Blossom from the top, and very well coordinated, very well done, good defense from Team.exe.
Now Helheim find themselves in a bit of a precarious situation here because, Team.exe, they're going to push forward. They're going to want to make them fight point A again, especially if player is forced to use this orbital ray in some sort of, commitment fight. It's going to be terrible. And, look at this. Now just a hard disengage. You got that ray out. You got what you wanted.
You do lose on Fab, though, and on top of that, you lose out on the rally coming in. So, yeah, Team.exe is disengaging very quickly, and you've lost the orbital ray, but Varied has the amplification matrix to send out in this long lane that Team.exe really can't hide from without completely leaving the carton. Ooh, Lazuli coming in for the attack. The flip does come through, but there again is that aforementioned amplification matrix shutting down Juno's approach, and the defense is still live for the side of Team.exe, but for how long? I'm not sure. That's it. Oh, Palos does get the one. We've seen Team.exe come back from this, but unfortunately the contest a little bit too late. We get it over to Objective B.
And Team.exe, they threw in the rally as well as that duplicate. They're trying to win that one out. Now you're just seeing Junofish just sort of get some nice kills on the payload here, but it is going to keep moving. Helheim, meanwhile, they have both DPS ults as well as another cage here, so this fight is in theory majorly in their favor. Team.exe, they might have to try to back off and take a final fight. It depends on, how many people actually end up dying or if they're able to continue to chip away in these fights and make it so EMC Helheim has to pay with their lives.
I don't know, Mega Last. I do see 3.5 ultimates and one being expended, that being on the duplicate on the Malga. Fortunately, it does get, emptied out early on by a side of Team.exe. Beast Mode having the Death Blossom ready in the back end of things, but this shield just is not going to be able to find itself a lot of value with Varied Shield going down so fast to that honing beam from Palace. Now, it is a 2-2 situation. Fifi trying to go over to the Torbjorn of all characters. The payload stalled for a bit here from the side of, from Palos, but not for too long. And unfortunately, Looking Like player has to find a retreat, and there's a recontested coming in from Team.exe.
Yeah, and Team.exe, they're going to hold forward here. They have a cage. They have their DPS ults online now. Might as well just deny the space, try to not even let them near the cart. This player's orbital ray is going to have to try to keep everybody alive.
Two Malgas going brr. Same idea with the cage fight, and it looks a lot more in favor of Helheim. And can we get its name the consistent time? We do, with not one, not two, but 3 people on Team.exe's part here. Poor Lazuli so low, but even the focusing beam not gonna be able to, duke it out against Lazuli's health bar. It has to be the side of Palos just kind of free firing into that big old tank. The rest of Team.exe is starting to come back. Here's the rally from Fab. That's all they need to maybe take it back. Painkiller now in the Pharah, and the Torbjorn, the overhealth is gone. It is all up to Helheim to maybe bring it back, but Very can't do it any longer. It is winnable now for Team.exe.
I mean, yeah, but the 0.5 meters. You full cap the map. I don't care what it officially says. You full cap the map, and to put that sort of pressure onto another team is, it's gonna have to be good enough here, right? We've seen plenty of first point holds on Shambali. We know there's so many pain points on this map, especially for the Malga comps with the verticality, but because of how powerful it is, you just have to keep playing it, right? There's no other counterplay options in terms of dive or anything like that, so we'll have to continue to see. I think it's going to be the tale of the echoes, right? Painkiller and Palos are both going to have to continue to be the difference makers, potentially with these duplicates coming through, as well as just the raw damage, finding picks with the focusing beam. It just means so much for these fights when you have this echo being able to just deal this consistent, insane amount of damage.
Oh, once again, Megaless, I am put in the position of I'm anxious, I'm scared, I want to go home. I'm stressed out. This is, again, match point for Team.exe. All they have to do is full cap Shambali Monastery against the force of Helheim, who, again, have been giving Team.exe a little bit of a run for their money, kind of unexpectedly, right? So being the underdogs, really bringing it toe-to-toe with one of the top teams here in the playoff bracket. Now, going to sit for the same exact comps here. Varied on the Juno player, going to the Brigida. I wonder how this kind of change in the supports are going to be affecting Team Helheim.
Yeah, I do not like this in the slightest. I think this is, you were kind of fine on your BAP. I think the BAP even fares better on defense here. And to make this call, as well as put a, switching both supports, right, it's just going to change the entire synergy of the game, right? We don't know how Varied is going to make those decisions with the Orbital Ray compared to player who we've seen be consistent all game long.
And get so much value, and so much so Fifi can't even get away from the brunt defense of Team.exe here. Hello, super low. Again, go back to the Genji, rather than mirroring the echo of Painkiller. So Painkiller has so much value in this airspace, and just being a flyer that no one can really track down for Team.exe, but Paolo's opting to go over the objective and force Helheim to back up a bit while we move the payload throughout Shambali.
I mean, they were playing that whole fight without Fifi, right? Because Fifi died so incredibly early on, and they want to fight this corner, right? This corner has been the pain point for a lot of teams moving through Shambali Monastery, and you see exactly why. It's a very narrow choke that you can't get through.
The duplicate being online so early on with only about a minute into this fight, and that's absolutely massive. Even better is going to be that second cage fight being activated by Painkiller. And, oh, the stagger is going to be huge here, Megaless. Absolutely devastating for Team.exe.
Yeah, because it's all about that time right now. You want more, and as much of it as you physically can have. Painkiller might get caught out here.
And they absolutely do. By Junofish gets a little bit too big for the britches in that moment and forces again Helheim to retreat back to this front corner, even the back corner of this hill, while Junofish goes straight in for the kill, knowing we have the cage fight ready. The overdrive does get expended pretty early on with no one really there to find the value from the lifesteal, and the payload again moving up this hill, going against the grain. Juno holding this corner.
Tons of ultimates for both squads here. The Orbital Ray is probably going to be the initiators for either squad here, but there's Blossom waiting.
Here's the Orbital Ray you were talking about earlier. That a healing over time is more than enough to help out Team.exe with this attack phase. the cage so good to kind of negate the honing beam from Painkiller, which absolutely would have taken care of half the team of Team.exe.
And now Paincare's going over to the Torb. I don't understand it. Like, EMC Helheim, they're making like panic swaps, sloppy decisions like this in their hero choice. And I don't get it. Like, you have tons of space to hold. You have so much time to work with and things like that to amount a good defense. Like, I don't know what you think the Torbjorn's going to provide here. But I mean, Palace going to come forward with Blade, and this is going to be dangerous now for Helheim as they have no support ults to work with.
They have no answer for this Death Blossom from Fifi. Fab finds themselves lost in the sauce a bit there. Fifi still getting so many of the pivotal picks that, you know, Helheim needs in their defense phase here, as it looks like Team.exe has really woken up in this game.
I'm just baffled at the Torbjorn pick because like, to me, it screams like they want to put more pressure onto Junofish, which, don't get me wrong, that's a good shout and all, but their success that EMC Helheim has found this game is putting pressure onto the supports, and unless you're expecting the turret to do that or some wayward, you know, Torb shots, you're not going to do it.
Blade is ready. He's going to charge, and just like that, dash into the back line. No rally from anyone to help negate this pressure from the Dragon Blade, so it finds every one of its targets and more. But we forgot about the payload, Mega Lens.
I was going to say, it just starts moving now, which, again, EMC Helheim, you have tons of time. Like, there's no reason to panic or worry yet for your defense. But, you know, coming into this next one, you're going to have Death Blossom for Beast Mode. No other ultimate really close besides maybe the Rally. If the fight goes long, EMC Helheim should be building towards more of their ultimates. But, you know, if the fight is allowed to go wrong. But we have to just be super, super careful about how it goes.
Literally chasing Junofish after the charge. Both cardiac overdrives expanded, and Beast Mode gets whip shot away from its target. The Death Blossom finds absolutely nothing but Casper the Ghost, and here comes Painkiller and that Torb using the Molten Core and Conundrum with that cage fight from Lazuli. I see the vision. It's a little bit slow, but I see the vision.
The vision is going to have to be realized one way or another here. Team.exe invests the cage, the Blossom, and that orbital ray here. So now, not working with a whole lot. They're going to get close to their rally in this next one, but they're going up against an orbital ray from Helheim here. And if I'm Helheim, right, like, Team.exe is the one who doesn't really have a good fight plan or a fight win condition for this one. So if Helheim can somehow win this fight without investing anything and hold these ults for another fight, they just choose to go in.
They choose to go right in, leaving the range of that orbital ray, and thankfully finding the survivability to go through Fifi's Death Blossom. Fab gets enough healing done to, you know, utilize that rally there. Player does find the Bastion on Fab, but Aerie, getting the revenge for their support duo here, and somehow without ultimates, without a really solid fight plan, Team.exe finds the win in this team fight regardless.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't... Like, the best way I can put that is Helheim just chose to go forward for no reason, and now they're making even more swaps. No Reaper means Junofish is playing this game a lot more freely, so you have the Genji in play. I'm not doubting a Genji pick or anything like that, but it's going to be so hard, and nobody touches!
Oh, the same song and dance we saw just previously at the same objective. No touch from Mauga, meaning we have a 2-minute time bank to take this to third point and win out the series in favor of Team.exe. And the stagger on Varied is not what you want on both supports for Helheim.
I mean, EMC is starting to flounder, and I don't understand why. They definitely have plenty of, you know, tools, and they were playing the game fine here, but I feel like nerves are starting to get to them. Team.exe coming into this next one with a Cage Blossom combo here. It's going to be lethal for sure, unless they can focus down this Reaper and not let it get as many kills.
I really hope they do. Fifi on the Genji now kind of not unseen from them specifically. The Death Blossom we talked about earlier just kind of misses the confines of the cage from Junofish. Lastly responds with, of course, his own cage fight, and it looks like a really good team fight for Helheim off of the mistakes built off of Team.exe.
This is going to be a chaotic one, right? We're going to be under a minute when the next fight starts out. Team.exe only working with their orbital ray, no other ultimates to their name. EMC Helheim, you have a massive ult advantage. You cannot squander it here. If you burn everything in this fight, then the actual final fight that comes through, EXE will have an advantage thanks to their orbital ray. Simply stall out the clock. EXE is the ones who have to be the aggressors here. They're the ones that have to figure things out.
Oh, they're figuring things out by the skin of their teeth. Fifi having to disengage early on with the Genji, and I mean, Pounds is right there with the aggression, but Juno Fish not gonna be able to get the value, the healing needed. But again, no need to invest anything here. Still 30 seconds left of the clock. A last engagement is possible, but can Palos get the Dragon Blade online?
Palos has to get the Dragon Blade online. Probably will be able to do it inside of the Orbital Ray, just building it up off the damage boost from that. I think this Molten Core might actually have to be the difference maker. As much as I've been hating on the Torb, it's now going to be the do or die situation here. This Molten Core denying space.
Player opting to go for the rally here, and the Dragon Blade does come through, and that's it. That is all she wrote here, Megalast. We're going to a game 5. Either way, my prediction officially incorrect. I'm excited to see how this is gonna finish out.
I'm at a loss for words. I feel like I've seen EMC Helheim, like I see them in 8 different lights at this point, and it's absolutely insane how they're making a Torbjorn work and do what it needs to do here. But now we're just, I mean, it's just going to be insane. Like, there's no other words for it, right? We're on the precipice of something amazing here. And, you know, map 5, I think it's guaranteed to be pushed. That's our only mode left. And, I mean, that's going to be a barn burner decider, whatever push map we go to.
I'm just watching these replays back as if I didn't just cast these, and so incredible. It was an incredible defense, a good start for Team.exe, but something about that Torbjorn, Megalast, I don't know. The Torb, you know, it had its value. The turrets, you know, were often broken pretty early on, but I think the Molten Core with the cage fights were really solid for the most part, and then just to hold on to it for that last engagement and make sure the floor was just unable to be walked on by Team.exe. It was unethical. Definitely not part of the meta. But Team Helheim did say they're opting to go for more comfort picks here. So, comfort picks over meta. I mean, it's starting to work out. It brought them to a game 5 of all things.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, I feel like you could have easily won it on the meta. Like, you were playing meta all day long, and you made it a little too close because you felt like Torbjorn was an answer. But hey, listen, that's team's decisions at the end of the day. If it works for them, it works for them here. And if I'm Team.exe, I don't even know what to make of that map, right? Like, you just got shown a completely different look. Do you now try to prep for that? Do you start making swaps of your own? Or are you just playing meta? Like, it starts to call into question, right, exactly how we're looking at things. Which, by the way, I just want to point out for Team.exe how top-heavy it is for Palos on these final blows. I mean, not a deadlift, but pretty damn close. Just absolutely ridiculous from this Genji player.
Like I said, they said, look at Palos. Look at Palos' Genji, and clearly making a name for himself. I mean, like you said, getting so many final blows in his favor. So many of those engages with the charge on the Malga. Palos is there cleaning it right up more often than not. So talking about Palos, let's look at his counterpart against Fifi, who did show that they have a little bit of hands to you know, brawl out with their own Genji here. So between these two DPS, it is just a free-for-all. Noted, Fifi did play the Reaper earlier on before swapping over to that Genji. Just to mirror Palos here a little bit as well. But per 10, looking pretty spicy, especially on that deaths per 10 for Fifi, getting a 7.2, where Palos is kind of, you know, a sub 5 deaths per 10 is really good.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane to see here when you're putting up stats like that on the Genji. And so, you know, it is now just looking forward in this series, right? When you're switching up, you're playing the Genjis back and forth here. Because Fifi was only on Genji for a little bit at the end, right? Mostly on that Reaper and stuff. But still, just the even DPS, you know, that's being put out from both of these squads here. But that being said, we're 2 apiece here. Map 5 looming. We know it's going to be Pushma, and I honestly don't know what push map it could be. Like, my heart wants to tell me it's going to be like Runasapi. A lot of teams have just been playing Runasapi because it's good for the Malga. But, I mean, we really could go anywhere.
From my little sneak peek, it does look like we have decided to go for the Runasapi, And for good reason. You mentioned just now, it's good for the Malga, it's good for the Genji, it's good for the Reaper. The all-out rush brawl is so good on a map like Ruinous Happy. It was just, you can feel so snowballed, especially on those intense inclines on just the first objective where the bot spawns in from. And then the around the bend area as well is so good to kind of dictate the tempo. Do you want to go in? Do you want to get checkpoint and then retreat back to that corner? Do you want to push forward into enemy territory and duke it out with whatever ults you may or may not have and what they may or may not have? Runasapi has started to become a little bit of a favorite here, especially over, I think Esperanza was more of like a popular pick before the inclusion of Runasapi. So I'm happy to see how this map 5 could turn out with these two teams now 2-2. Game 5 so close.
And I'm just thinking back to this morning, in case you have missed some OWCS action, there was a 128-meter reverse that happened on Runasapi, Toronto Defiant versus Twisted Minds. Absolutely insane in the final moments to push back 128 meters for Twisted Minds to tie that series back up. And now it's a decider map here. So even when high meters start to come into play, this map truly is not over until it is over here. Beautiful layout, of course. Our observers, they're so good at what they do. They find all the cute, cool little things that you would never notice on a map like this because you're just too busy slamming into each other on whatever meta comp it is, whatever rank you are in. But starting out here, I'm going to put my hands together in prayer that we don't actually walk out on the tour. Like, Helheim, you look so good on the meta. There's no reason to make these swaps in your map 5 where you could take down a massive opponent in EXE.
Yo, they're really sticking with the Torbjorn. Game 5, everything on the line, Mega Lads. We're going with the Torbjorn for the winning pick. This is I wouldn't have it any other way, is what I'm trying to say. I would not have it any other way. Very back on that Juno against Aerie, who has been so consistent with her Juno throughout all of these 5 matches. Now look at the rotations here. Team.exe opting to go towards that bend around the coastline, playing around the Mega Pack there, and Helheim stationed heartily on the control, on the point itself, on the bot itself, excuse me. The charge comes through and it feels fine, still finds Painkiller, but the overdrive does come in, and I think there's no picks here because Fifi, there we go. Speaking of picks, it's Fifi finding not 1, but 2 imperative support picks, and then just finishing off Beast Mode. We can get a little 5k for my, Fifi narrowly almost got a 5k, slipped out from their grasp by Painkiller.
Oh yeah, Painkiller needed 1. It's the Torbjorn ritual, right? You have to be handed 1. And now EXE, they're actually off against themselves over to the Echo. This is a nice little adaptation, right? When you see there's no Reaper, and as well as like the Torbjorn in play, right? It's a short, stout target you can put a lot of sticky bombs on, so I see the appeal in going for it. But, you know, no ult into this fight, so it's just going to be about these speed rings and who chooses to engage first.
Alright, going around the bend here, and me when Malga, same brain syndrome, but it's okay. Focusing beam completely tearing down Lazuli's health bar there, and Beast Mode just finds opportunity to make sure that Lazuli goes right back to that spawn room for sure, Really quick re-engagement, good team fight here in favor of Team EXE as they bring the bot back to that middle point.
They bring it back to the middle. No forward spawns achieved for either squad yet. Ironically, the closest ult for either team is going to be this Molten Core here, but with nothing left to combo, it'll be interesting to see if Painkiller chooses to commit it or wait for the cage to help everybody stay a little more zoned and grouped up. But now, going incredibly deep is Junofish.
And finds some lava at their feet there from Painkiller, enacting the Molten Core into a tight corridor space, forcing everyone to rush out of there unexpectedly for Team EXE. And just before the golden line was crossed, Helheim takes it back and runs into Team EXE territory.
And so now this is going to be the heavy ult fight, right? The only thing invested is the Molten Core here. If EMC Helheim, honestly, they don't necessarily have to win this fight outright, but if they can get their forward spawn secured and force EXE to invest a lot, then they're going to be setting themselves up good for the fight on the other end of things. Of course, you know, they can just win this one outright with a heavy investment of their own, but they're actually just being given forward spawns. I guess EXE, they didn't have the members there ready to contest.
We do have the rally coming in. We're having the triple support ultimates coming in. Safe for Varied, who's keeping their orbital ray in the back pocket if needed, as the fight starts to get a little bit scrappy a bit, but Beast Mode gets the opportunity with that cage to run rampant all over Helheim. They take it right back in their favor, but as you said, they got that checkpoint, so Helheim gets those forward spawns.
Yeah, and everybody gets those forward spawns now, so they'll be able to meet the bot. They have that. They kept their orbital ray, like you were saying, very, very disciplined to hold on to that, especially with a Fifi blade to combo with it. I just worry about this duplicate. If it goes on to Amalga here, it could provide that extra healing with a second cardiac overdrive to keep everybody on EXE healthy.
Oh, Eri barely getting out of the skin of her teeth, and Fifi says, no, not today, focusing Eri completely down with this Dragon Blade Fab. May not say the same fate as well. The Death Blossom does come through from Beast Mode, but it's not going to be enough, I fear. Varied finds the kill on Juno Fish, and it's really just Palace left, and ooh, finds their one. But bot goes right back for Helheim. It's been a back and forth every other fight here, Megalas.
Yeah, the back and forth, and what's so important is that Helheim, they did not give up forward spawns there. So now it is probably not going to get pushed all the way to securing forward spawns because they're just going to be outnumbered. Lazuli should realize that here. And it will be another fight at the top of the hill. But this is exactly what you want, right? You're building towards another Molten Core. You just got to give time to let the Torbjorn work here, and Team.exe has to find a way to take the space.
This sneaky foot spot is crazy work. Watch your feet. He's getting splintered by hot lava. Coming in with that charge again is Juno Fish. Trying to go for the overdrive. The health bar is starting to come back up in their favor, but it's not going to be enough. Pain Care giving a lot of pain to the team of Team.exe here. And beautifully done with the Torbjorn. Just kind of keeping up the aggression and the damage output.
I mean, like, I'm at a loss for words. I've gone from slandering to the Torb to I'm now praising it. Pain Care knows what they are doing. They've discovered an extra layer to the meta nobody else really knows about. Ultimates, again, they're building for both sides, so if this fight goes long, you're going to see heavy investment. But every meter gained, you know, it's starting to weigh on Team.exe, realizing they're going to have to find an answer back on the other side.
Sounds like the cage is giving me that answer in question. Here's the cage to start things off real strong in Beast Mode. With no Death Blossom and no resources, is forced to go down for the count. The bot is still leisurely walking, cruising, in fact, through this area. Cage is ready, Rally is ready, Orbital is ready for Team.exe. They have to make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, they really do, right? The further this goes, it's going to be more and more difficult for them. There's ultimates on both sides of the coin, though. Just the cage invested for EMC Helheim. And so now, look at how much respect's being given to the entire team.
Comes a cage fight again. Orbital Ray coupled with that should be spilling should is what I will say. Victory for the side of Team.exe, for the side of Team Helheim. But I mean, the Torb going crazy actually forces Team.exe to expend more ultimates than I feel like was ideally necessary. And Helheim still will take that any day of the week, forcing 3 ults from EXE for just 2 of theirs. Paolo's now going over the Genji.
Yeah, and I mean, it's such an insane situation here. Where, like you said, those ultimates being forced out. Juno Fish now going over to the Junker Queen, and I like that look. The question is, can Lazuli actually get out? If Lazuli can make it out with their lives and have another fight before, you know, even the top of the hill, it could be massive.
There's a rally, also the Magma Core on the floor, and then Juno Fish just gets burned like a crisp. Even with that Junker Queen just shot, just not enough to sustain through that Molten Core. Very clean fight plan from Pain Care, just expending the Molten Core like that.
Torbjorn is the GOAT. This payload now potentially could be a full cap here on push. Team.exe, they're coming out just a Blossom to work with.
And gets booped away. Doesn't find the value needed last week. Is able to find the cage instead. And Megalas, is it looking like a done deal? Is looking like a full cap on Runasapi. EMC Helheim have done it. You predicted it. It was a 3-2 and a massive upset for Helheim in the playoff bracket.
A massive upset. They start, you know, playing, you know, their own style of the meta, right? The Baptiste, and they're playing it close, incredibly back and forth across those first 2 maps. Then all of a sudden they decide, you know what if we just decide to play Brig? And they're still incredibly close. They're actually, you know, this meta, they're like, oh, we don't like it. We're not that good at it. Too bad. It seems well suited for them. And then these last 2 maps, the adaptations being like, yeah, what if we throw a Torbjorn into the mix? Much to my chagrin. I mean, EMC Helheim, they absolutely cooked in an underdog story that nobody saw coming, now coming up with a massive victory here. And, you know, a massive upset. Team.exe, well, easily the favorites for the EU GM tier, now sent to lower bracket.
As you can see, most of these replays are just Painkiller playing Torbjorn, the character, in Overwatch 2. I cannot believe that Torbjorn was the pick here. The Molten Cores stopped Team.exe in their tracks multiple times because they're so hyper-aggressive. How can you be hyper-aggressive when the floor is going to kill you? Very well done from Helheim all around. I mean, also, I do want to say I'll say I doubted Varied going off the break, off the Baptiste, and taking that Juno role from Player, and Player going to Brigitte, but oh my goodness, it worked out in the best possible way. Here are the final stats, and this is the most polarizing of all of them we've seen on all 5 maps we have had between both of our teams today. This was what we expected for Team EXE, and it worked out for Helheim instead.
Yeah, we're going to zoom in on the Torb stats, those damage numbers per 10, everything like that here. And like you said, it was such a back and forth affair, but then that last map, Runasapi, I don't know if Team EXE, they ran out of steam, they just didn't have it in them anymore. I don't know exactly what happened, or if EMC Helheim just really had the numbers advantage on them to keep their foot on the gas and keep the momentum built behind them here. But it just showed. And so EMC Helheim, I mean, absolutely looking good. These are the things you want to show off, how you want to look in these playoff matches.
And here again is our the maps we have seen as a reminder. Started off strong for Team EXE. It went back and forth up until pretty much Shambhali Monastery, where here we go. It is Runasapi. I mean, that was wonderful. Wonderfully done. Incredibly entertaining series, unexpected series, and it's probably one of the best ones we could have had for the night. But as you know, with the end of every match, we have a wonderful interview lined up for all of you. So we'll be right back after a very quick break to have an interview with Fifi from the side of EMC Helheim. And after a riveting 5-map series going the way of the underdog, 3-2 Helheim, we have Fifi here today to have an interview with us the casters here. Fifi, you hear me? How are you feeling today after a wonderful 3-2 victory?
I'm feeling thrilled. I can't lie, especially considering the really long loss streak we've been on. But yeah, no, just thrilled. I'm shaking still.
Oh, no. I can imagine. The anxiety, the stress, the shakes. I've been there too. My first question for you does come from your pre-interview, where I do know you guys weren't too confident with the meta, especially the backline of the Juno Brigida. But we did see you guys start to lean towards that, towards Shambali especially. So I want to know what was kind of the thinking with the backline specifically, with Varied, with having to, and Player, swapping to the Juno and the Brig at some point, even swapping roles entirely.
So to be completely honest, we thought Team.exe were just gonna pull out on the same SIG comp they've been playing, because they played it throughout this meta. And then map 1 we see the Malga, so we kind of had to mirror that, because we're not good enough at the other comp to beat them, the meta comp on it. But that's about it.
I mean, yeah, makes sense that the Malga meta is dictating a lot here. But, going beyond it, right? I mean, the Baptiste, it did, have its moments. It worked for a lot of the series here. But then, something shifted on Shambali. You ended up having your support line switch. Was that, something that had been practiced? Or was that just, in a moment, just player was like, listen, put me on Brit. I got this.
To be completely honest, both of them can play either or. I don't really know. They didn't really discuss it. They just kind of did it. We've had it in scrims as well, where they've kind of switched around at times. I think it's literally just in the moment which one they'd prefer to play.
Okay. I mean, hey, listen, you can't blame them. My question, it's the hot button question. Torbjorn, is Torbjorn really the heater pick that Payne made it look out to be, or was this just sort of in this specific matchup the Torb would work?
So, alright, so with the Torbjorn, unfortunately, I can't give too much details on it. But
it's under wraps.
When
okay.
Myro was on this team, he labeled it the secret weapon, and we just decided now was the time to pull it out. There's nothing more to it, other than Scraphead being amazing at the game. But yeah,
that's the real tea, the secret weapon. And not gonna ask you to delve your secrets or anything like that, so no worries, keep it under wraps for your next round in the playoff bracket. Now, of course, I have one final question for you. You are, of course, live on the CGL stream. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yes, actually I do. And that one of those people is Nuke, because he is currently in Stockholm, in a hotel, watching us play. For whatever reason, he's decided to do that with his night. And also, obviously, just my hit scan, Squarebread. I've never he kind of just calms for the whole team. I can't lie. He explained every fight today ahead of time. That's literally it. Everyone just followed what he said.
That's so good to hear. Wow. Thank you so much for this interview, Fifi. I genuinely hope you guys do amazing in the rest of the playoffs bracket, especially into your next match, right? So we'll hopefully be seeing you guys again on stream. But in the meantime, take a very well-deserved celebration and a break. Get those nerves to calm down. You guys earned it today.
Thank you.
No problem.
Wow. I mean, the secret weapon. I never thought Torb would be the emergency button we're hitting, but listen, the bracket, playoffs, they do their thing. You know what I mean? And I'm so baffled. That was just such a good match, top to bottom.
And with 2 whole Torb maps, I didn't see one hammer kill. How dare you? Next time, I need to see at least one hammer kill with the Torbjorn to really solidify it as a secret weapon for me to believe, by the way, okay, guys? But that's gonna be all we have for you guys today. I want to hear what the Deaths has to say, of course, so let me throw it to you guys. See you guys later.
An acquired taste, she says. Yeah. Okay. this match between Team.exe versus EMC Helheim, we had expectations going into it, Ray and Jeff.
That we did.
And I think those expectations, right? Imagine it like a straw house, and then a Category 5 hurricane just came through and blew it all away, right? The EMC Helheim victory, 3-2, was completely out of left field. We all thought it was going to be a Team.exe easy victory, right? At most, 3-2. But, I mean, Jeff, for what we have here, for what we just witnessed on stream, this is peak Overwatch.
I mean, this is like you built a straw house and then you learned that you're actually in the Minecraft universe. Like you weren't even in the same multiverse. Like this is a different world. We saw, I mean, Helheim just turned this around. I mean, and I mean, I stand by that. My prediction was kind of the expectations for what we saw coming in. And we heard from the interview with Fifi, you know, coming on the back of a long losing streak, and they were just talking about just how thrilled they were to get that behind them. I don't think anybody expected this, and I am so happy to have been wrong about this. This is what playoffs is about. What an underdog story. What a comeback.
Yeah, Ray, underdog story epitomized at its finest. A revenge story on top of that. All the way back from week 4, and here we are. So many weeks later for a EMC Helheim victory. It took a long time to get there, but they got there, and through some very unexpected compositions, through very unexpected roads.
And it, excuse me, and it was just absolutely insane. It just felt like they all got behind their secret weapon of the Torbjorn. They pulled that out mid-map on Shambali. And, you know, sometimes you just, you know, you'll say, you know, they're playing flankers, let's pull out the Tor. And then you think, oh, you know, you watch it, and you're like, oh, that's just a silly pick. But as it started to develop, I'm like, okay, they might be cooking something here. Like, I literally watched one fight where the orbital ray came in, and it was like the molten core came out, and it basically like neutralized the healing that they were getting. I mean, you still get the damage just from the orbital ray, but they won the fight because they were able to wipe them out very quickly because they didn't have the healing because the molten core was out damaging it. It was insane.
And the crazy part too is that we're getting, right, Jeff, watching the replays, Team.exe doing insane maneuvers, especially beast mode, Juno Fish, really giving this team the legs that they needed to have gone this far. And we saw a lot of the rays of sunlight that this team is capable of, the pedigree that we know that they're able to deliver. It's just these unconventional movements from EMC Helheim. I mean, like the Pain Care Torbjorn of all things.
I mean, we saw it early with the BAP as well. Like, they definitely kind of brought their own twist to this meta. Even, you know, when we heard they kind of had to adapt a little bit. We're expecting something a little bit different. Then came in and through multiple adaptations on the fly, most notably the Torb you're seeing on your screen right now. But also, I mean, you know, the moving around in the support roles and then making that decision on the fly. And then, I mean, even just falling into the Brig Juno as, you know, as a whole and going into this kind of the compositions that we end up seeing here on map 5, the one that won him the day. It was just wonderful adaptation all the way through to try to counteract the big plays we were seeing coming from Team.exe.
And I couldn't imagine a better way for this team to be able to show up, right? This is, like, to reiterate what you were saying, Jeff, this is where they needed to come out in force, and they did so with a spectacular showing of that actually happening here. And so, you know, Ray, we talk a lot about, you know, seeing how these teams are working. We saw the interviews, you know, they had what we were thinking, like a lot working against them. They aren't doing so well in the current meta. They have roster shifts. But to also go back to what you were saying, they played what was comfortable for them. And if they had to shift into something else, it worked. And we saw that here. We saw that happening in front of our very eyes.
I mean, you can say they definitely fell into what played comfortable, as Jeff had mentioned, you know, the BAP coming in and then the Torb coming in. But in the interview, they legitimately said, we have not been able to get a handle on this Brig Juno. We might still try it, but we might have to play something. But 4th and 5th map, they were playing exclusively Brig Juno, and they won those last 2 maps. So, I mean, comfortable or not, they won 2 maps playing that support line, and they did very good job doing it.
You had to fly by the seat of your pants. You had to get a handle on everything that was going on, and they did. EMC Helheim stepping up in a massive way in the winners round here for CGL Saturday Night Overwatch. But of course, with a victorious team, there has to be a player that exemplifies this team's momentous victory. And well, I don't think there's any surprise when we say who this player is going to be. It is none other than Pain Care themselves. You know, they showed off a lot of different forms, but I think the one hero that we're going to be remembering them for in a 5-match Gigabanger series is the Torbjorn, Jeff.
I agree. That's the one that stands out, just as such an unusual pick. But it it really started on the very first clip we saw in this highlight reel. It was the Widowmaker on the back of King's Row when it was looking like an inevitable cap out of Team.exe, and Painker makes that switch, a switch that, I mean, the hero comes through and makes for your squad. We've seen throughout the history of Overwatch, making that swap defensively on Kings and getting the 2 important picks. I mean, Helheim would come around and win that map. That would turn around to be a Helheim victory based off of that hold, and it was Paincar who instrumented all of it.
Yeah, and, you know, Ray, looking through this highlight reel, right, we're seeing the Torbjorn right now, but there was Echo. There was the Widowmaker that we were talking about. There is Reaper thrown in there. Genji. It's all over the place for this player.
Exactly. It was the flexibility and skill that they showed on so many different heroes time and time again. I mean, map number 1 was extremely close, and they were absolutely tearing it up on the Genji. Like, I remember Jeff making a lot of comments about how well he was playing on Genji on that first map, and to then follow it up with so many different big plays. I mean, even on thinking about New Junk City, getting that touch on the Genji last second to even keep their hopes alive, they're able to turn that fight around. They end up losing the map, but he kept them in that game.
And that's not even to say how well the rest of the team was doing, right? But it's just Pain was giving us so many highlight-worthy moments time and time again, and the ability to switch over into a different hero at the very last moments where, you know, our casters were talking about, and even here on the desk a little bit, going into Runasampi straight off on the Torbjorn. But then all the way through that map, we saw the genius of it, or the madness, maybe a little bit of combination of both, really work out in the favor of EMC Helheim. And it's those little gamble moments from the players themselves that help to give the team these unconventional victories that maybe Team.exe just weren't expecting.
I mean, there's a lot of sustain with the Torbjorn. I think there is some genius to that. Going up against, 2 flex DPS. Your big weakness as a Torbjorn is going to be an Ashe. There's going to be a Cassie on their side that can get a couple of quick headshots in, and suddenly the Torb can't match that range. You don't have that threat in this meta. The Torb can pop an overload. You get automatic armor. You're very sustainable against a Genji dive. You're very sustainable against a Reaper, even against the Malga themselves. Not only that, but you can get some of the same ult combinations from a distance. That Molten Core, you can throw that in from outside the cage. As the Reaper, you have to go get right in the middle, in the thick of things. You often see him shield bashed out. You see the Reaper just interrupted. I mean, granted, we saw some good Death Blossoms today, but there is some real validity to the Torb. It was a smart pick, and it pays off.
It really did. Yeah, that Molten Core, right? There were 2 shining moments where it was the basically ending the map, right? One was on Shambali Monastery, and then the other one was on Runasapi, where it's at those final few moments they throw in a Molten Core and then Pain just cleans up.
Yeah, it was the combination of that plus the amount of damage you do in more of these Malga, Reaper. It's just a lot of damage out there. So you have that constant damage over time of just having that Molten Core spread out everywhere in these close, tight-knit fights. And as I mentioned, there was times where it was completely counteracting orbital rays in certain fights. So it was game-changing. No kidding.
No kidding at all. So a massive congratulations to Paincar on their MVP for this series, and a big congratulations to EMC Helheim on their upset victory over Team.exe. Megalast, I'm sure, is going to be eating good tonight, and I can't wait to hear from her on Saturday night Overwatch for the NA side of things. The streets are going to be saying about our next matchup. Of course, we do have more series upcoming, including matches that are taking place outside of the main CGL channel. So we have RRG JV going up against RRG Varsity in 40 minutes. So we were cutting it close, but we do manage to get there just in the nick of time to watch that matchup happening over at CGL_2, the numeral number 2. And happening obviously tonight for the NA side of Saturday Night Overwatch, Nightmare Rotation versus YFP Gaming. That's happening at 8 Eastern Time. And then for the final game this evening, Oops All Vibes versus BGSU Falcon. So still so much Overwatch that we have left to go through for tonight. And hey, that's right your entire afternoon sorted, basically, at this point.
Exactly. You just gotta go get yourself some snacks and some food to last you all afternoon, but you got entertainment all day long. So make sure to tune into all of that. Stack up them CGL tokens. Me and Dex are tired of being on top with the amount of tokens we have. We need some people to pass us.
And Jeff, we're gonna be back later tonight for the CGL Saturday Night Overwatch NA. I'm excited. Hopefully we're gonna get another great game like we had to start off the day here. For the EU side of things.
I mean, do we get another upset? Like, that would be... it's going to be a little bit closer, I think, as far as who's going to win our NA match on paper. But, I mean, could we see another upset? I mean, I know Helheim's now suddenly a team that's hit everybody's radars going forward with this bracket. So, what other teams do we need to put on the radar? That's the answers that we'll find out a little bit later.
Yes, it will be. But for now, we are going to shut things down and get ready, obviously, for our next match upcoming. Make sure you go and check that out, CGL_2, if you want to watch the RG game, the JV and the varsity teams. And of course, later tonight, don't forget about more Saturday Night Overwatch. But I do want to give a couple of shout outs to our behind the scenes production staff who did a phenomenal job at capturing all of the glory. That, of course, being Hippie, June, Navad, Little Joe, and Orange. Always amazing to work with them. Great to be hanging out with you two on the desk. We'll see y'all later tonight. And of course, our great casters, Mott and Megalast, for helping to guide us through those amazing games. But until the next Saturday Night Overwatch, everyone, we'll see you then.